Hi, I'm Peachy.
Hello, I'm Patrick.
Hello, I'm Jeff.
And today we are joined by the esteemed painter, Richard Gray. Hello, welcome to the channel. His face, he's got a face.
That's a face.
No one knows who I am there.
Yeah. Well, if they're listening and they're not watching, they'll know who you are by the voice alone. Yeah, they got that with Pete, so Pete had the same thing when we had him on. Most people recognise the voice. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for travelling down, and sorry for the coffee. It was a car crash. I don't drink coffee. My wife's really good at making tea. She doesn't drink tea. I'm crap at making coffee. I'm sorry. Forgive me. He won't be coming back. That's the vibe I'm getting. So
it's just my face. Don't worry about it.
We've mentioned you many times on the show for one reason or another.
More times than I care to remember.
We used you in one of our...
Have I paid you?
No.
We're still... Pat expectantly every morning looks for the check, but it's still not turned up.
Yeah. I think it's because every now and again you jump into the comments and stuff, and we all respect you as a painter, obviously, so that helps. But we used you as a part of our measuring tool for the Ultimate Yellow Guides.
Yeah, you did an interesting job of that.
I did a terrible job of that. Yeah, so if anyone's not seen that yet, I look at like the ultimate way to paint yellow, and I was looking at different ways of painting yellow, many I've never come across before, and I was watching your video and trying to mimic Richard Gray, which I didn't do very well.
Well, we've already set a bar now that we know that if something isn't very good, Richard will refer to it as interesting.
Yeah. And usually, if in doubt, we're like, if you don't like this, just watch Richard.
We Pat a little while ago to sort of trigger people early on, because we put a couple of things up that it was just me and Pat that we'd painted, and people weren't very kind. Well, one of them would be in something I painted they were rightfully not very kind about. And then Pat did a horrifically painted Space Marine on purpose, and people would send things in and go, "It's awful, it makes me feel ill, oh my eyes," and all the rest of it. And I always used to just reply, say, "Take 2 Richard Gray videos and call me in the morning."
So yeah.
I get comments every now and then on my videos. There was my favourite comment was like, "This is the worst video I've ever seen. It should be titled How Not to Paint a Space Marine."
I'd love to see that person.
You've got to think what standard they are, haven't you?
It was Darren Latham.
It was Darren Latham. Imagine being trolled by Darren Latham. That'd be awful. You go, "Yeah, it's all right, Darren, but you only paint one leg." We've seen your videos.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think what it is because I quite often am quite messy when I start off, and it's only later on that I start the refining. So they watch a couple of minutes and like, he's no good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same. I mean, obviously, I'm messy, continue messy, and don't get quite as refined as you, and just get to a certain point, and then people just switch off and go, "Yeah, thanks." Cheers.
Is it? I did watch your most recent video painting Deathwing Terminator, and seeing the thumbnail and being like, "That looks like a painting," and then seeing you start and just being like scratchy, and I'm like, I don't how. But then you watch the video and you're like, oh, a lot of skill. That's how.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just you just have to be persistent with how you do it. Once you've got like a little area and you figured out how to do it, it's just doing the same thing over and over. It just takes a while.
Do you tend to like work on the go as well, like try things out as you film and stuff?
I mean, it depends. If it's more for YouTube, then I'll have a rough idea of what I'm going to do, but sometimes I'm like, "Oh, this is going to take too long." So actually on the Deathwing video, you can see like I'm painting it off and I'm like, "Oh, that's fun. I'm enjoying myself. Like, this is going to take 2 hours for a video or whatever." I'm like, "I can't do this." So I just get a big brush and like stipple the pattern on, and it gives like a close approximation. And like if you like combine different techniques and things, you can get like a pretty good result anyway. So I mean, I find like for YouTube, it's more for me to have a bit of fun and just play around with different things, because when I'm doing more like the Patreon videos, it's generally going to be for like Golden Demon entries, so I have to be really focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's got to be good. So.
Yeah. So I didn't realise you did like different styles for your patrons as well as YouTube. That's interesting. So I mean, I was looking at the Deathwing Terminator, and like Pat was saying, you could just see all that little mottling and like all the like the chipping and stuff. Very much a painting.
I mean, it definitely wasn't suitable for an army.
Doesn't matter. I mean, imagine an army of that.
Yeah, but I prefer to spend a long time painting. Like my thing is painting. Like I just like to spend a long time doing nice jobs, but people prefer if I do quicker work, and it's I'm kind of like, well, I don't always enjoy doing the quicker work, but I get so many people asking for that because I think they like the way that I do it. So I still incorporate techniques I would use on Golden Demon projects and things, but I try and do them quicker and but they're still effective.
Yeah.
And so people like that, but I'm there. Oh, okay. Well, it's not quite finished. I want to spend another week on that. But
yeah. So that's really interesting because when I was in the painting team, I had the luxury of sitting with like the heavy metal guys and doing some stuff, and I found it really hard to focus and get that discipline of like maintaining one figure for a long period of time. I think that might be down to the fact that I have a short attention span and I like immediate goals or results quite quickly.
Well,
so that's
actually,
my style.
So one question I get a lot is, and I know a lot of pro painters get it, like Gold Team type of painters, is why do you paint a little area and finish that and then go, do little bits at a time? It's because you want to actually see something that you've done.
I suppose you want a test model, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you want the payoff. You're like, oh, that looks cool, so I've done a bit. Rather than, because it takes so long getting to that bit that, if you go through all the layers on each part of the model, you're spending a long time doing stuff that
you're not seeing a reward. Yeah, that's fascinating because, like, from my point of view, if I'm doing like a unit of like 30 or 40, I'll have one completed, so I've got that like goal to look at all the time and go, that's what they're all going to look like. I mean, it's going to take a few days, but that's what they're all going to look like. So that makes a lot of sense. Never really thought about that.
There's a guy I knew back in the day from the first time I was into Warhammer, and he would paint in Friar Lane shop in the city centre, and he would do that thing of not painting. Now you can get a lot of the spray cans you need to be able to army spray your Marines. Well, he was painting the colours on by hand for the main colour for the chapter, and he would do a thing like we would start a Marine, it'd be undercoated in black, and he would paint all of the detail completely to a finish of like a hand holding the sword. So you just have like this really nicely painted ultramarine fist holding the sword and a black miniature, and then he would move up and do a really nice forearm, and then you just think, I couldn't imagine painting like that. It looked great because the juxtaposition between this really nicely painted tiny bit, then a black Marine, but to paint up like that, and I thought maybe that's trying to get eke as much satisfaction as you can out of a figure as you go.
Well, actually, strangely enough, so when I paint, I tend to focus on the sort of the interesting areas first. So quite often I'll end up like with the chest and head and stuff done, and then you'll get bits. And usually, if they're in like a walking pose or whatever, it's like there'll be like limbs further back in the image, and we take a nice photo of it. It looks like they're kind of like coming out of the darkness, and people are, I prefer it like that, just leave it done. But well, okay, it looks great in the photo, but if you look at it in real life, it's unpainted.
It doesn't help.
What's the longest amount of time you've spent on a miniature?
I hate time questions, I really do.
Sorry,
because it's hard to focus on something for a competition straight the way through, especially because of the way that I'm working for Patreon and stuff. People get really bored of just seeing little updates of the same thing over and over and over. So you have to like jump around a bit, but also like I just get a bit bored, or sometimes like I've just had enough and I just need to think about it for a bit. So Mortarion probably took me the longest, but not necessarily in hours painting. So there's a lot of thinking time
across slightly.
It took, I think it was like about, it's a year, I can't even remember now. It took a long time of being left there and then doing a bit more. And but I actually paint quite quickly for what I do, but I spend a lot of thinking time, and I just like focus, so I just jump between pieces.
I mean, I've got like so many unfinished projects, or like projects that are like midway through being done on my desk. And we recently did a video where there was like some that had been there for a year, and I just didn't want to touch them, but we made a video out of it. But I'm like that. I have to jump between projects and stuff.
It's a problem because people keep asking me, like, so where's Nagash? Where's Be'lakor? They're just looking at me.
Do you have like little mini rewards and stuff? And obviously with like painting like a leg to completion stuff, but if I was like doing a unit, I'd get my 30 done. That's like, I'm going to paint a character now or a tank. Do you, from your like doing a character model or something like that, do you have like, I know you said you paint the best bit first or the favourite bit. Is there like little bits like, I can't wait to nail doing the base? Or
so I do try to make sure there are still interesting bits left on the model, because the absolute biggest problem is if you've painted the front of the model, you've got the back to do, right? And no one cares about the back. Everyone's like, why haven't you painted the back? Because no one's going to look at it. No one cares. I can't do tutorials on painting the back because like, if I put that on Instagram or whatever, no one's going to be interested. So it's really tricky to do stuff like that. And that's purely because of social media and Patreon. It's my job. Like if I was just doing it on my own, I'd be fine. Like just spend hours paying it or whatever. But you've got to make money. So.
No, agreed. Yeah, it's interesting because it was a thing we used to focus on a lot when we were doing like stage by stage guys with workshop. It was rare or advised never to show the back of the model because it was weird. It was always like the model should be facing towards the camera and stuff like that. So that's where the interest is. But sometimes there was just like really interesting elements on the back.
Well,
but
they definitely, especially some of the new ones that come out. There's amazing things they put on the back. Like one of the orc. I can't even remember what anything's called.
It's the same.
It's an orc thingy, like the thin orcs that came.
Oh, the cruel boy dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The back, the one of the psycho type ones.
Love it. We need him on the naming convention too.
The wizardy guy. Like, on the back, he's got like a big skull backpack thing.
Yes.
Oh, he has. Yeah.
That's
right.
I don't know what he's called, but I know which one you mean. Yeah.
But I was like, he looks better from the back than the front.
Yeah. That's funny. This is that now explains why things like beastmen and lizardmen exist, because it's like a lizard man thing.
I love that.
Amazing.
I used to be really because I was so into all like the gaming and the lore and everything. I knew everything about it. I read all the books, loads of it, and then since I've just become more and more focused on painting, then so much stuff comes out. I just don't keep up with it, and so
it's hard. I mean, even like when I was in community, you'd get like imagery and there'll be like documents coming out of everything, and I just couldn't keep track of it. I was like, you know what? I care about Age of Sigmar and Warcry. They're the only things I give a damn about remembering. Anything else is just
it's back to that Rogel.
Timey-wimey names.
It's back to that Rogel Dawn tank again, isn't it? Right, obviously, we were talking about Angron actually, and I said, and you can just see us in the background, the corner of that new tank that they're bringing out for the Imperial Guard. And Peachy had only just left, and he went, "What tank?"
I had no idea. I didn't even know there was like new tanks or Rough Riders or anything. There was a couple, when I was leaving. You used to have something called the Dam. Which is like a massive archive of everything that was old, current, and the new stuff coming out. Depending on your access levels, you could look at like things so far in advance. And I know the Imperial Guard was coming because we were like looking at doing like some paint guides. In the actual schedule, it just said Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum, so I had no idea what it was. And then a couple of the staff I was working with were like, "Oh, Peachy, you should see this. You'll love this." I was like, "I don't want to look at it. And there was like obviously the new Lord Solar, whatever Leonatus, whatever it's called, because they're like, "I'll be perfect for your Ventrally neighbours." Like, I don't want to look at it. I just don't want, because if anything happens like a leak, people are going to think it's me. So lots of people were trying to show me stuff before I was leaving. I was like, "Stop! Do not tempt me, Frodo." But it was mad. But yeah, so the stuff you can see, and even then I was just like, the name will come here and it'll go out, and I'll be like, it's that knight on horseback for the future, innit? That's who it is. That's the name for him. So how did it all start then for you with high-end painting? What was the turning point for you?
It was probably 2014 for when I got my first Slayer sword, because before that I'd just been doing commission painting things, and like I got a Golden Demon trophy in 1999, I think it was.
Oh wow.
And then I kind of like after I got that, I just didn't bother anymore.
Yeah.
Because I was like, "Oh,
you've succeeded."
Yeah. But then,
goal.
like, over the years, I kept looking every night. Like, 'cause I always was interested in Golden Demon, so I just looked at them. And I kept thinking, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then in 2014, I just thought, right, I'm going to go for it. And unfortunately, my mum was dying of cancer at the time, and I thought, I needed something to focus on.
Yeah.
And that was it. That I just thought, right, I'm just going to pour everything into that, and that my aim was just to get a finalist pin.
Yeah.
And then I got like the Slayer sword and the Forge Your Best to Show at the same time.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was a little bit.
What was
shocked.
the entry then?
It was a Thanatar.
What's a Sanitar?
Back to that names thing again already, aren't we?
Is that a tank?
No, it's a robot. It's a big robot.
Oh, yes, I know which one's
It
yeah.
had like a big plasma.
Oh, I know the one.
Grenade or
It works for
something on the
AdMech robots, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're quite cool looking things, actually, yeah.
So and as soon as you win a Slayer sword, if you haven't been like known before, you're suddenly known.
Right.
And just from there, it just took off. People like, "Oh, you commissioned this and whatever." And
Nice. So I just need to win a Slayer sword then. That's all I'm
it's that easy.
Yeah.
Just
Unfortunately, the standard has gone up quite a lot now. So.
I remember there was a guy who was I can't remember if it was which job I was applying for, but he'd won Golden Demons, and it was in his application going, yeah, I'm a multi-winner of Golden Demons, and it ended up being epic. And it was like no one else had entered that year. That's why he got like a gold
Default.
Because in the interview, you're like, oh, well, I got this, and like I remember like the manager doing some research after, go, no one else entered. That's why he got a gold. No, we're not employing him.
I mean, it is tricky. There are definitely categories. Even now, there are categories that are harder than others. Like
Yeah.
you do like a single model.
Yeah, I would never. Yeah. No,
Just
Lords of the Rings probably a good one for trying to win a.
I don't know. Some of the stuff people are doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the Slayer Sword. Like, actually, Neil Hollis, he won the Slayer Sword at Adepticon, the last one. And
Yeah.
he entered a little goblin for Lord of the Rings. He didn't even get a finalist pin for it.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, I've painted so many of the figures of Lord of the Rings, and when you see, I don't know, Bilbo or Merry or Pippin, and they've got eyes,
They're
eyeballs
so
painted,
small. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, you're all like the shade and the stuff like that. I'm just like, I know how small those are, and I struggle to even see the eye, let alone the eyeball. So you know, there's no chance. I'd just be big armies. There's a category for big army.
I mean, open
Might stand a
competition
chance.
is an interesting one because you can literally do anything. So,
Enter myself covered in butter.
Because
I mean, just that fit, the Games Workshop item.
It will do. I'll make it fit. I'll wear a helmet.
It's just the idea.
3D print
But just
one,
how
yeah.
warm you're going to be in that cabinet.
Yeah.
When they come to look at you, the butter will be gone.
And also the lighting would be very negative.
Yeah, that's true.
Because why is Peachy in a cabinet and just a pair of underpants?
Yeah.
And what's all that over the floor?
I never said I was wearing underpants.
yeah. So with Golden Demon, it's been in the UK for a long time. I think it went over to the US like the past couple of years and has received quite a bit more publicity post COVID. And like it had it seemed to have a bit more negative feedback online about how it was judged, and people were going like I don't know, like where have I placed? Like it'd be interesting if they had like these levels, or if you reached a certain quality and this, that, and the other. Like how do you find like the format of the competition?
Well, there's some difficult stuff there because there was all sorts of issues with the American one, and like I wouldn't want to say because I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you,
Everything is conjecture.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely had some issues with it. But Golden Demon is a very kind of like, it's a special competition for me. It's the one that I'm always the most interested in because I like all the lore and everything. I like the models, so that's why I do it. And also, it's very handy in terms of promoting yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some amazing competitions. You go to Monte Sansovino or whatever, but the general public have no idea what that is. So
I was about to ask, what's that? Sorry.
The painting there will blow your mind.
Yeah.
They're amazing pieces. So there's a lot of large scale stuff as well. And generally it's not Games Workshop models that you would see, but it's all for painters by painters.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a very different thing. Whereas Golden, also it's an open style competition. So if you're good enough, then you'll get a gold, and it doesn't matter how many people do that; they can all get gold or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's purely based on your skill. Whereas if you're a Golden Demon, you can have 10 Slayer Sword winners in the category.
Yeah.
It's only 3 trophies,
Yeah.
and they could all paint the same model, the same way, exactly the same.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
still only 3 trophies. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I remember watching Daz do some judging years back, and I found that really interesting because I was like looking at the things, I was blown away by the quality. But he was like, "Look," I was like, "How do you go about judging these?" It's like you just got to look for which has got more mistakes.
I mean, it's very tricky. I'm not always keen on the looking for mistakes.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm always like, I don't always agree with everything that the way they judge Golden Demon, but there are different styles of painting.
Yeah.
For example, if you paint with light volumes and non-metallic metal and stuff like that, and have light directions, I know people think they turn the models upside down to look for mistakes and stuff. I'm like, they don't turn models upside down. One, they're very fragile models, so that's just asking for trouble. But also, just the style of the painting. If you look at it upside down, it's going to look terrible.
Yeah, of course it is.
Every metal style might work upside down because it's like a very specific way of painting.
Yeah.
But other styles just they don't look right. So
Well, if it's direction, it's intended to be looked from a certain way.
exactly.
Then looking
So
at it from
and it's just not
upside
fair
down.
to like. Okay, so that bit there doesn't look right. Yeah, because you put it upside down. Yeah.
Where do you even start judging a Golden Demon?
I don't know. I don't ask me. I mean, we did the Ever Chosen competition, and that was a bit different. But Daz was there, a couple of heavy metal guys was there, and I was there. And a couple of times I was looking at models, and there was 3. I remember talking to a guy recently. There was 3 ones that were going to go to be the top 3, and I couldn't quite work out why I liked this one more than the other 2. And I was like saying to Daz, I like this one more, but I can't work it out. But those ones are cool, but I like that one more. And then he was like looking at it, and he was like, it's because of the style and the way it's been executed, whereas this one is like, it's got non-metallic metals on it, but it's not been done as well as this guy's non-metallic metals and stuff like that. So it was weird. I could identify why I'd put that one higher up, but I couldn't.
I mean,
it down.
It's very tricky with judging competitions as well, because you have to separate your preferences from knowing why something is the way it is.
Yeah.
So it's always tricky, these kind of things. But I wasn't particularly keen on Ever Chosen, so I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought it was a terrible idea.
It was weird. It was weird because it was like global, wasn't it?
It was global, but also it was a public voting thing in the stores.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if little Jimmy comes along with all his friends, like, you're going to have some really good painters, and there were some really good painters that they got outvoted by some kid with his friend and family.
And it was all digital, so you couldn't hold the thing. So how much of that was photoshopped for some of it?
It's not even necessarily photoshopped. I mean, there is definitely touching up going on with Instagram photos and stuff like that, but just the way that certain styles work when they're photographed, and the type of camera they use, the background color you're using, just anything makes a big difference. And so you can't really tell how well models paint in an Instagram shot.
Yeah, I've touched up models on Instagram. That's because I painted it, took a photo, and then seen blue on a shoulder panel. Oh, for God's sake! So and then just copy a bit of the gold and just coat over it, and then change it.
Sensational journalism here. What clickbait title can I put on this?
Peachy lied all
Peachy
the time.
painting fake.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't notice until you've taken the photo.
Peachy confesses all to Richard Gray.
Do you find?
Yeah.
I mean, you're obviously.
Oh no! I use the photo. Like, I'm constantly taking photos of my work, and I look at it because it's easy to see the mistakes that I've made, because they're actually, I'm painting like very detailed stuff quite small. It's easy to overlook things, and if you could have focused on one area, and then you might have just missed a bit somewhere else. Or sometimes it might look all right when you're looking at it, but I need it to look good online as well. So I take the photo, look at it, and then like, okay, so I've got to tweak that and that.
Yeah.
So it's really handy for that kind of thing.
I've been doing that a little bit more these days when I've been doing some of there was some Sisters of Sigma I did using the Sister Battle Kill Team, and I was painting the faces, and I'm nowhere near talented as most painters out there, but it was like, they looked alright because it was like a wash over white, so it was quite a pale face. I wasn't going to do all these blends and glazes and things. I took a photo and they looked like ass, so I was like, oh god, they're going to look awful in photography, so I need to tweak them a little bit. And then, a little bit of like a couple of like thin down coats and stuff, I got a better result from it. But yeah, that was the only time I really did it. I probably should do that more. It was like just post stuff, take more photos. But I always end up doing this thing where I'm like, oh, I'll do it later, and then I'll take a photo, and then I just post it, and then notice, because I'm an idiot.
Richard, if we go back even further, are you art trained?
I am art trained, but I find that it's very tenuous, the link. So I'm trained as an illustrator, and everyone's like, that's why you can freehand. Like, no, it's not. So for a start off, when you do your illustration, it's visual communication specialised in illustration. And when you get to the degree, the first thing you have to do is you can't even do the degree unless you can draw. And then they don't teach you anything about drawing. They teach you about working in illustration, and that's it. If you want to get better, off you go, practice your drawing. And also, but illustration anyway, people don't necessarily know what illustration is, and it not even doesn't have to be drawing, it could be anything, but it's just like, making an image to a brief. And so it's not going to improve your freehand work.
My uni course of illustration taught me how to draw stickmen really well, because it was all about what I wanted to do was not really what the lecturers wanted to do, and they were very angled towards children's story. And that's pretty much what the course was like how to make children's books. And I was doing like illustrations of Hercules' 12 Labours when you read them, quite dark and rude. So like, how do you make this into a children's book? This is, I mean, Aphrodite is born in a frothing sea of penises. That's how it starts. She's just like, okay, this time I'll move that bit out.
Just frothing sea.
Frothing sea of cucumbers.
I just kept taking these pictures back, and they're like comic book art stuff, because I wanted to get into workshop and be an artist with that.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? And you just go to these places, you do all these things, and when I got into retail, I was trying to get into it as well, but I'd got nowhere. But yeah, in the end, they just kept going. This is why I'm okay with feedback, brutal feedback, because they will do it all the time. Go, no, it's not good enough. It needs to be more refined. Simplify it.
That was the best thing I ever had. Was when I was at university, I really half-assed a project and brought it in, and I got absolutely destroyed in front of everyone. Like, focus on me. This is crap. What were you doing?
I mean, it's good though, doesn't it? Because it builds you up a bit for it.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like maybe some people would have broken down, but
you're more resilient.
Yeah, I just took it inside.
Yeah, I ended up just doing. I got to the point where I got so annoyed. I just did a couple of stickmen, took it back, and like, perfect. I was like, really? I've paid like $9,000 to draw stickmen. Cool. I could have done that at home for free. Awesome. But yeah, that's interesting. Where did you study illustration?
UCE Birmingham. They've changed the name now. I could have got my degree name changed as well, but I can't bother to.
Yeah, it works.
I was going
to ask you the 1999 entry. What was that?
It was a Slanesh Great Demon, Keeper of Secrets.
Oh, the old metal Keeper of Secrets.
Yeah, so when I got it was new at the time.
True, yeah.
And actually, I was super keen on it, but the only thing was they'd swapped the claws around from the top, from the shoulders to the lower arms, and I was like, actually, that's wrong. So I put them back up, and I did like a dodgy green stuff thing on it. But the main thing that I did was like the style of the painting was all sort of patterns merging into one. It was kind of interesting, but still like pinks and purples and stuff like that. I got silver for that.
Oh wow! Yeah, good job.
Do you learn your because the miniature of yours that I've looked at, I don't know how many times I've gone from start to end on it, is when you painted the Plague Marine with the spewer.
Right, yeah.
The one that's now back out again from the
I wanted that box. I want the plague caster from it. I couldn't get it.
He's going for silly money already on eBay because he was only available in Japan first time round. Yeah. The thing I was really interested in, which was what I was thinking about with regard to saying being your training in art. You choose sometimes colours and make them work where they don't, to me, seem obviously. I don't obviously understand how you've got there. Like, for example, on that miniature, you do the trim on the shoulder pads, which is meant to represent a sort of older bronze sort of colour. Yeah. And you did it using Games Workshop's run of flesh colours. There's a lot of Bugman's Glow in there to create an older bronze, and I just don't understand on any level whatsoever how you got there. Is that just trial and error, or is that trained in?
No, it's looking at reference. If you look at the pictures of what, so if you.
Because I'm assuming Games Workshop won't have painted it, and they'll have used one of the bronze colours, won't they?
Yeah, well, they don't very often use non-metallics unless it's for like a character or whatever. So, and even then, their style of non-metallics is very different to how I do non-metallics. And but generally speaking, if I want to paint something, I mean, I've got a good idea now, so I don't use as much reference for a colour because I can guess what colours I want to use. But just go Google what you want, whatever the material is. Say, okay, so it's got these colours in it, and you should be able to just look at it and get a rough idea. Like sometimes it's not always obvious because like where the light hits, like there'll be certain colours at the edges of things, stuff like that. So it is handy to get the reference for things like that because that will then translate when you paint the model, and people will be able to say, that's that.
Yeah.
Whereas before you might think, that's brown or whatever, but you painted it and they think, so it's a shiny brown. That's not right.
I've made my wife, who couldn't care less, it was like one night it was like, look at it, how did he get that using it's flesh, how did it get to that? And my wife's like, can I go and put the dinner on now? No, look, how did he manage that?
That's an important point actually, and it kind of bugs me a bit, and it's something actually that Gareth Nicholas said to me as well, is when you're younger, you get all the paints and you think, so it would be like elf flesh or whatever, so that's for painting elves.
Yeah, yes,
No,
yeah.
it's
yeah.
not. It's
Yeah.
just that
colour.
colour.
Yeah, yeah. I was really bad for that when I was very young, and then I got
Still
older.
bad for it now.
Yeah, well, I mean, in retail, people were coming going, "I'm painting elves. I need this flesh." I was like, "No, you don't. You need that flesh." And they're like, "But that one's called elf flesh." I was like, "It's just a name. It's look for the colour, not the name." And it used to be so frustrating because they were like, someone was painting chaos, and they only got chaos named paints, and none of them made sense to the thing they were trying to paint.
Oh.
And I was just like, So sometimes the naming convention can skew people's
So
understanding.
maybe Vallejo's way of naming them's probably for the best, maybe.
Well, a prime example. I mean, I still argue the name should be red, but there was Blood Angels orange,
Yeah.
Blood Angels red, but then I remember Dave Andrews saying, "No, they used to be orange."
Well, didn't they used to be Space Wolf Grey?
They
Didn't
were
Space Wolf...
quite orange.
Yeah.
Space
originally.
Wolf Grey was the colour that Games Workshop didn't paint them.
Yeah.
When they used to do Space Wolves.
Yeah.
We started with the Fang, which was like the darkest.
Even before that, in the,
horrible
when I
grey.
did them, when it was on, God knows how many paint ranges ago, back in the late 90s, and there was Space Wolves, the colour they painted them wasn't
Yeah, it was Shadow
Space Wolf
Grey, I
Grey.
think.
Yeah, it was Shadow Grey, and I
Shadow
think
Grey,
Space Wolf Grey was possibly a highlight.
Yeah.
But it was like, you think, again, you could be running it, and then you'd end up with extremely pale looking Space Wolves, almost like, like a pastel blue almost.
Yeah.
You're right, you've got to try and stay away from the names, really.
I mean, going on to the non-metallic section, actually. So, obviously...
Well, obviously, hang on. Pat's already got 2 knives, so that when the end of this is done,
we'll have one.
oh, so you're
going to fight for the knife
knife over this non-metallic metal.
It's like that scene from Batman when the Joker snaps a porky in half and throws it between those two guys.
I mean, you can do. I mean, I was just going to talk about it. But it's fine.
God, it's the only reason I turned up today.
Yeah. Great. So, in a previous podcast, I had strong opinions about non-metallic metal.
You certainly did.
I did.
Richard was beside himself
I know,
in
he
the
said the
comments.
pitchforks are coming. It's great. Which instantly told me the kind of sense of humour that you've got, which put me at ease, because it was a contentious thing to say, but it was a personal opinion, wasn't anything that was generated, because I understand the artistry of it. And when I was looking at your vampires that you did, like some of the tones and colours, it's almost like you can see like reflections in it and stuff like that. So personally, it's not my cup of tea. If I sat down and did it, I just wouldn't do it. I like using silvers and stuff, and I understand how that works. But when you see someone do it well, that's when it's...
I mean, so I don't have a problem with people using
No.
I don't use metallic paint as well. I mean, I don't enjoy it as much because so you get like little paint metallic flakes in your water jar, so you need separate water jars or whatever. Or
You do, yeah. Or sometimes you don't, and I do.
No, I did that. I did that on a Golden Demon piece actually. I mean, I still got gold for it. My Warhound Titan, but Andy Wardle looked at it and goes, "Why has it got sparkles on it?"
Because I intended it to be that way.
I'd airbrushed a filter on it, and
Was it like a vampire Warlord Titan that
well,
was
it
in the
is now,
sun and it was all glittering? It was going down
I think
that
it was
route.
the DJ Mortis one actually, and covered it like with a big freehand moth thing on the top of it.
Oh yeah. I need to. I've got something about your freehanding. It's insane. I'm going to say it now, actually. So I was looking at your Sigvald when you did it, and I'm recently looking at it. That face on the shield, mad. Have you seen the face on Sigvald's shield?
I certainly have, yes.
Well, if we ever put any pictures up, I don't know, but check out the.
Can I abuse
Demon
your
Rich.
Instagram for this chat? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Put your pictures up. Yeah.
Abuse your Instagram. Yeah, so check out Demon Rich. There's so much stuff there, but yeah, I was like looking at, because obviously it's all non-metallic as well. It's just insane. So I understand the artistry. I have full respect for it. I just can't do it, which is why I hate it.
It's
jealousy.
fine. Yeah, it's fine. Things that you can't do, but
Your opinion on NMMs are very similar to my opinion on DIY. If I can't do it, I hate it.
It's rubbish.
It's basically, if I'm bad at it, I hate DIY because I'm bad at it, and I'm bad at DIY because I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm in that sort of that circle of it.
In that vicious cycle.
Cycle of it,
I
yeah.
think that the main thing is we're coming at it from very different perspectives. Like, so I enjoy spending a long time, and the thing about the non-metallic is I have complete control over the highlights and reflections and things that. Whereas with metallics, they look great really quickly and simply, and they do look like metal. So you got, and for army painting things, it works great as well. But the thing that I dislike about metallics is you don't have a set light point on. So if particularly for me, I like to use light directions and specific highlights on. So if I spent ages highlighting the face and chest from certain angles with different bounce highlights on, and I painted a metallic part on it, and then you turn the model, and the highlight moves on the metallic and not on anything else you painted. So it doesn't line up. Having said that, I do prefer metallics on Adeptus Titanicus stuff. I think the scale just suits it a bit better.
Yeah, makes sense.
And you can do some really cool things with metallics as well. You can paint them sort of like non-metallics, but you have to really knock that.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I remember a few guys in heavy metal were doing stuff with blades and stuff, and they're using metallics and then like thinning down washes and then like mixing in metallics into it to make like the shimmer on a blade, and that was insane to see. But I suppose at that point you might as well just do non-metallic metal, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Because it's the same effect, but yeah.
The heavy metal team are very limited because they have to get a very specific look for the model.
Yeah.
So, and I do feel sorry for them actually because they get a lot of stick, but they're stuck in what they're allowed to do, and I can just do whatever I want. And people are like, oh, that looks better than the box. And I was like, no, well, it doesn't for one, because I guarantee their painting is way sharper than what I've done that. Like I've done that pretty quick, and it's just a fancy, way of doing it. But it looks nice in the picture. So
yeah, I suppose like from a process point of view, heavy metal have a certain style, and because of myself and Duncan doing the videos, that's now the style that the new presenters have to, obviously with the faces removed now, but they said that this is the Games Workshop style. I never liked it in the first place, and I always thought it was a bit rubbish, and we've had many comments going, oh, I prefer you now that you've left. I'm like, yeah, because I'm a human. Whatever was the constraints that we had was...
He was a big one of them only the other day, talking about how much they really liked you now compared to...
I don't know who that is.
Oh, there was a comment. It was a comment just the other day saying, I really like Peachy now he's not there.
Yeah, but it was so stale and like too formal. I think it's too formal. It needs to like be chilled, and like people would praise like, oh, it's a really good sort of, and this was internally like, this is a good style for presenting. I've never liked it. I've always found it quite stiff. Oh, something fell.
I guess they want a very specific format, whereas they're not so keen on personality. But people want to see the personality. So
well, the model is key at the end of the day. It's not really about the person that's there, and that was something I remember they were always saying was it's about the model. It's the same with like the packaging painters and like anything we did for Stage by Stages. It's not about you as the individual painter. It's about the model. So
and that kind of actually that's the same for me when I do my painting. That's why I don't put my face in it, 'cause I'm not interested in me being known. It's the painting that I want to be seen. So.
Which was going to be a question, but you've answered it.
Ruined it.
But it's fine. That's that done.
Yeah.
Good.
So going back to non-metallic metal just for a second, do you think that it's kind of almost like a necessity for competition painting these days? No.
Well, I mean, it helps if you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Because but at the same time, like you can paint heavy metal style and win trophies.
Yeah.
Like well, depending on the competition.
Yeah.
If you go to Monte San Savino, no, you're not going to win a trophy. If you do it,
where's that held?
In Monte San Savino.
I never heard of the place.
I just say that. No, my next level of ignorance is showing. What country is that in, Richard?
I don't know, actually.
Thanks for putting me in my place.
We're going to find out there's a small country called that.
Okay.
Nice.
But like, there's loads of different competitions. But if you do a Golden Demon, if you paint heavy metal style, and to very high standard, and actually it's a bit risky doing it because the heavy metal guys really know that style, so they'll be harsher on that possibly than anything else because they can easily spot if you've not done it quite right.
Yeah, that's true.
So you have to be really careful doing it. But I mean, I know there's ex heavy metal painters that then they enter Golden Demon, and they win. So, obviously you can paint like that and win. It won't be a problem.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it doesn't really matter what style you go for.
As long as it's good.
But it's just got to be really good.
Yeah.
But how you judge whether it's really good is always contentious. That's what everyone complains about.
Yeah. Some people do get quite salty about not winning, but then sometimes it's justified.
It's understandable because you put a lot of yourself into the model. Like you spend a long time, like hundreds of hours painting a model, and then if you don't get what you think. And what the other problem is, when you're posting stuff on social media, you've got like an army of people telling you you're amazing.
Yeah.
So it can be very easy for people to think, I deserve that.
Yeah.
I'm that good. But everyone else entering is that good as
Yeah,
well. You know, so it's tricky. And it's easy for me to be like, you know, you got to calm yourself down or whatever and just accept these things. But, you know, I've got plenty of trophies. I'm a bit older. I've had a lot of experience with it. So if you're a little bit younger and you're not so new to this kind of thing and you've spent a long time on something, I can understand people get very upset not winning. But it's just a bit of fun competition. At
At the end of the day, it's painting goblins, right?
Yeah.
If we boil it down to its bare parts. I did see something recently, and I have no opinions on it either way, but it was... I know the painter's name, but I'm not going to name drop him just in case they get annoyed. But there was an American, I think it was Adepticon or one of the foreign events where there was a Golden Demon, and they used the same piece in UK Golden Demon with a few changes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was bad, but apparently a few people kicked off about it. It's like, you know, you've not really changed it. It's the same thing. You've already won award with it. There was like a load of like noise on Twitter and stuff. I don't really not read Twitter, but the day I stumbled on Twitter, I was like, wow, that.
Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of different complicated angles coming out of this one. I do know what you're talking about, so I don't want to be too specific.
You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. I don't want to put you in a spot.
So to give you a different example, right? So again, Neil Hollis won the Slayer Sword and had his Dark Angel. That was also entered at GDUK.
Yeah.
And he got nothing for it because that was entered in the single model category.
Yeah.
And it had a big base with a large stained glass window in the background. So this was obviously painted very, very well, but it got moved into diorama because the judges decided that it looked like a diorama. Like, I don't agree.
Yeah,
it's not a diorama, it's just a guy standing there.
Yeah.
But that was why it got moved there. But it's not a very good diorama, so it got nothing.
Yeah.
But then he was like, okay, so he took the feedback, he made it on a small base, entered it at Adepticon, and he got a trophy. So he made the correct changes to the model.
Yeah.
And like the painting hadn't changed on the piece, it's still like a really well painted piece. Just the base has changed. But, you know, so re-entering that kind of thing where you've taken feedback and made improvements, I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and remember, people have spent ages on these things.
Yeah.
So it's understandable that you want to get something from it. At the same time, if you've got a piece and you've made it and then you enter it in competition, it doesn't get anything, and you go, okay, so I'm going to take it somewhere else that I think may be a little bit easier. Enter it again. Maybe it doesn't get anything again. And then you're like, well, I'm still going to enter it again. And, you know, it becomes a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So I suppose at that point it's like start again, or
Yeah.
So I guess that if going with the diorama side of things, it's like it didn't fulfill the criteria of what that was expected, so make those changes if you want to get it in. So you put that your heart and soul into it. But yeah, I suppose if I like rocked up with, I don't know, whatever miniature and kept entering it every year and not getting anywhere, I should probably like just paint something new and learn some.
Well, the problem is as well, so the standards aren't getting any lower.
Yeah.
So if you didn't do it one year, then chances are it's never going to get you.
Yeah.
So it starts to look a little bit desperate if you'll just keep entering it. I suppose it fills up the cabinets though. It looks good with all the edges. And, people do like to see the models as well. So I'm always encouraging people, because people think, oh, I'm not going to get a trophy, but there's only 3 trophies. There's people come to me and they say, oh, I've said people quite a lot, but but like, so loads of people wanted to look at my vampires, and so they get to see them in the flesh. They come up and look at, and I got loads of feedback saying, oh, it was so great to see them in the flesh and things like that. So it's a nice way to show off the models and all the hard work you've done. It's basically a celebration of all the hard work. That's what the competition is. And so the competition itself, winning the trophies, that's nice. Everyone gets excited and blah, blah, blah. But then after that, it's done.
Yeah.
On to the next one.
It's a nice mix those vampires are as well, because you've got like...
well, it depends who you ask, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I like them. I think they're really...
So, I don't know why. Right, so, the problem, as I understand it, with the vampires...
Is there a problem? I didn't know there was a problem.
Right. they're from different factions.
Oh, who cares?
Oh, for the love of God.
Who cares? They're vampires.
So this is
I care.
This is one of the issues with
Someone at Workshop made up some names to give them different factions in a new book. That's it.
But
You
like,
do what
so
you want with them.
one of them, the samurai guy, were what are they called? The Asgardian.
Yeah. I've recently got those. Yeah.
They look really cool, but he has quite a different aesthetic to the Cursed City vampires.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I painted them all like the same colours and things, but they didn't necessarily match quite as well. And also like the skin colours, especially the samurai guy again, he had like a sort of a green, like so I used green on him. So he had a slightly different skin colour, and it wasn't necessarily suitable for a vampire for Games Workshop.
But it's a fantasy setting,
I know,
so
but,
it doesn't matter.
That does matter. Like I know so many pieces that have had issues that didn't place because not to do with the painting, it's to do with fitting the
lore.
The lore.
Oh, and the IP.
That is something you really have to get right for Golden Demon, and that's one of the things that makes the competition unique is that it really has. Like, if you do something the wrong color, like if you do a pink orc, no chance. You know, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of creative painters that come along and they're like, oh, I want to paint that. They don't necessarily know the background. And they'll put this thing in, it looks amazing, gets nothing. And like, what's that? And then everyone gets angry, say, well,
I suppose we need rules for a reason.
That's really because I was my question that I had prepped was like, you know, I'm an aspirational painter. I'm keen to learn, and what could be some, like, apart from joining your Patreon and your website. And,
yeah, definitely do that.
Yes. Like, what would be your tips for someone that's like attending their first Golden Demon and that sort of thing? And I guess that is
Stop stealing my questions.
Well,
it's been brewing.
The chap who I think is Czech on YouTube, he's like a black-haired version of me. He's got a really big beard and a oversized quiff. I can't think of his name. He got a miniature turned down, didn't he? Because he had, I can't remember his name, the chapter master for the Iron Hands. But he was in that big sort of, looks like a tech marine, even though he's not. And he'd done him and he'd replaced the axe, and he'd done him where it looked like he was about to put a really large pizza in an oven, and done like a chef's hat on him. And it was really nicely painted, but it was a comedy thing. And Games Workshop went, no, we're not accepting that piece.
I have a feeling he would know that wouldn't.
Yeah, and it makes good telly, doesn't it?
So there are things people do, like joke entries and things. I've seen things where people have done
the Tau Stealth Suit, classic.
Although people doing that when I was doing Golden Demon in the 90s.
Really?
Not necessarily with Tau, but like Hobbit.
That's mad. Oh, funny, but mad. Yeah. So we'll go back to your question. Just while you're talking about the 90s and stuff. One of the things I used to notice about Golden Demon was people used it as a shortcut to get into the event. How annoying must that have been when you're just like surrounded by all these like models that haven't really been painted properly, just so people can join it?
I don't know, because I was only a teenager when I was doing it, so we all kind of like looked the same, but I was like trying to peek at everyone, so like, well,
you're just jumping the queue,
placing yourself as you went.
I don't know, I didn't mind it too much because you actually did get in really quickly. They funneled you straight through. There's queues for miles.
It was mad. I remember someone knocking mine. Luckily I recovered it, but and I didn't get anywhere with them, so I can't really complain. But I had like a little warlock, and then I did a little battle scene where it was like a couple of Tonians fighting some undead, and this guy who'd not even bothered painting his bases was just in front of me, turned around with his bag, and he ended up knocking him, and I was like, whoa. So I was like, cool. So someone in the queue that was just trying to jump the queue just destroyed my entry that I put, like, well, to me as a 16-year-old, a lot of time into.
Absolutely right.
I was too old for Youngbloods, so
that's one of my regrets, is that I can't get Youngbloods.
Some people do though, don't they? They get so I don't know if it's, you can prove it, but there was a really used to
really
get the
tall.
skulls. It was really tall
with a beard.
There used to be a skulls program where if you bought so much stuff, you used to get skull stickers. And you used to get like statues or figurettes and stuff like that, and all sorts of random things. There was like an orc bust.
Oh, I remember that one.
And it was painted really well, and I'm certain it wasn't painted by this 12-year-old. but the dad was a good painter. And it entered in, it won gold, I think. And there was like a lot of people like
Village Fate style.
Yeah.
Like, I reckon the parents
I mean, it
did
could
that.
be like an anomaly, and they were
Really
just
baked this
really
cake.
good painters.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it was 96 that happened, or 97. It was the year after, maybe. But yeah, that was a contentious thing for the
Children
time.
should be made to do a test, shouldn't they, before they go, right, just before we put that in the
Yeah.
cabinet, paint that Space Marine.
Edge highlight this.
Yeah.
So
Although,
yeah.
I mean, you've got to remember though, if the parents are really good painters, then they teach the kids probably quite a lot as well.
Maybe
Yes.
they have,
Yeah.
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 So your
Yeah.
question about things to know and
Yeah, because say like I'm fascinated by like say improving my painting and being like, right, okay, here's my first miniature, that was terrible, how can I make it better, and all that sort of stuff. And I see lots of people on Instagram say like, oh, I'm entering Golden Demon for the first time, and they do all the updates and this, that, and the other, and then some of them go, I got a finalist pin, this is the best day of my life, and then some of them are just sort of like, yeah, I'm going to sell my entry, nice one, and or something along those lines. But so if let's say next year I'm looking to enter Golden Demon, like what would, apart from Patreon website, where do I start?
Right. So, I mean, they're going to be cliches.
Yeah.
Pick a model you like.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, because you're going to spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time, and there are models that are better than others to enter. So try and pick one that you like that also looks good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because so there are different types of models. You have models that are very dynamic, and they can have like things like blocking the angles and all sorts of harder to paint. You can't get, so you have to do them in more sub assemblies. I prefer things that are very open at the front. I also prefer things that are not very detailed, so I can paint whatever details on that I want.
Interesting.
And in fact, that's something that I get annoyed about on a lot of the new models, because they're so heavily detailed, and even a small model can take a lot longer because the amount of details on it.
Yeah.
And I know that works better with like contrast paints and things like that, but and they can't make models for my preference.
No, I know. But it's
but-
interesting to hear you say that, though, because I've always thought that they're making these models for painters, but actually the painters are getting triggered because there's so much stuff to paint.
It takes a lot longer.
that's
especially
so
if it's just very
interesting.
small, like little
Yeah.
intricate details. You think, oh, I've got to highlight that, I've got to
Yeah.
shade that, and everything's a different colour, so I've got to change the paint all the time. It takes so much longer
So-
going backwards and forwards.
So I'm going to ask the question to Workshop now, which is like, why are you making these heavily detailed models? Because army painters don't like them. Golden Demon entry don't like them.
It must be like
They look good though.
there's a
They
bell
do
curve.
look good,
Looks
but you
good.
can knock some of the detail down.
I would like the detail knocked backwards.
You know, it's funny because I was the other day putting some Space Marine infiltrators together, and they all come with like a little medallion, which is just like a skull and crossbones that they can hang from their belt.
Oh, wow.
And I was putting it on for a start. I was gluing them on, and as I was gluing them on, I was thinking, so why am I putting these on? No one will ever see them, and I've got to paint them.
Yeah.
And then I put them on, and then as I did, like anybody who's painting relatively quickly, you hit it with the gold, and then you hit it with a flesh wash over the top of it, and then just go back and highlight up a little bit. And as I was doing it and thinking about you coming on the show, I was thinking, how long would that thing take
That's
if that
what
was
I
going
would
into
like.
a competition?
Yeah.
What took me 3 paints and 20 minutes at the very, very most, and some that's drying time for the wash. Think how long must that take if that you go, I'm going to do, say I'm entering a team of 5 infiltrators for squad, and you're going, how long would these sort of just all them little medallions take if you were putting them on, you know? And
A long time, that's why I'd probably leave them off.
That's why I used to put details off models.
But that's why I do think they're putting a lot of the detail on for army painters and things like that, because you can do something very quick and simple, like a quick layer and wash on it. And
Yeah, I mean, even
then they're
now.
covered in detail, that's the thing. So whereas a simple model, and you do the same thing, it still looks like a simple model.
It takes me back to like the Empire state troops and the great swords. The great swords were more elite, so you use less of them.
I
Whereas the
love
Empire
them.
state troops were just adorned in skulls, egg timers, cards, pouches, random femur bones, and stuff like that. And just like, why? I don't want to paint all that. Whereas the great sword, you added it if you wanted to. The option was there.
Yeah.
And I found that with the new Imperial Guard. I love the new Imperial Guard. But I hate the fact that the satchel is part of the model. I want that to be loose so I can add it if I wanted to. I don't mind the webbing around like the belt and stuff like that, but that satchel was just like, why is it part of it? And it might be to do with undercuts and the moulding process, but you've done it with 3. They can come off because they're weapon options.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
special weapons
absolutely
or
right, yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I do find sometimes there's too much detail And contrast and washes do help, but it's still stuff you still want to pick
You
it
still
out.
want to do it, yeah.
And there's so many nice things to be done by getting rid of detail. Like I've been practicing at the moment. Trevorian is his name.
Yeah.
He does his Blade Guard veteran shields. He took all of the Indomitus badge off the front of it and filed it all the way down and quartered it like an old-fashioned knight shield, and then battered it all and then put decals on it and battered them as well. And I'm in the middle of trying to perfect the amount of shields that I've been in and out of BioStrip is ridiculous. trying to get it, but you think it is that thing. You go a nice big flat shield, still the correct shape, still with a Marine's hand on the inside of it, and the circuitry to make it look like it's powered is great. And that thing of just sitting there taking it all off and giving yourself a lovely big space. I've already decided that when I get my Terminators from Leviathan, I'm going to strip the Aquila off all of them and just have the Black Templars decal, and then smash it all up a bit. And because I think that just look more interesting than having them on. And I think it is nice that what you're talking about, having a big flat space that you can mess around with. Because especially now, because I'm no freehand painter, but GW and other companies as well. But some of the decals knocking around now are so good.
Yep.
They really, really are decent, and designed in such a way that you're overlapping them with other ones at the same time, give really good effect. But you need a big flat space to make the most of them, don't you?
So there used to be still an adage now, which is like faces and bases and stuff like that. I suppose with Golden Demon, it's faces and everything else, right? So you can't just like do the base
and altering your base as if it's a Dark Angel for Golden Demon.
Yeah.
So that's interesting though. Painting the model that you like, because I sometimes just paint stuff because I want to use it in a game. But yeah, if I was to enter a competition, I think because you'll be more engaged with it. Makes a lot of sense. Simple, but
I mean, as an aside, when you're talking about decals and tips for Golden Demon and things, people always think freehand, because they see people like me doing freehand on models. Stick a decal on it. The decal has to be flawless, so you're not allowed to see any of the film or anything like that.
Yeah.
The judges don't care.
Yeah.
It's not what you do. I mean, it's the end result that counts.
Yeah.
So if you can do like a flawless decal on the model and it looks really good, you'll probably do better than someone that's done freehand.
Yeah.
It's unless you can do freehand as well as a decal.
Yeah.
It's going to look worse.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
It's making the most of your microset and microsol there.
Yeah.
So I've done a bit, obviously, over the years, lots of painting. And weirdly, recently, one of my most proudest paint jobs has had hardly any effort put into it, which was I did a warband for Warcry. And it was, I spent 3 hours on the warband. I did like a little bit of converting. I turned these Cypher Lords, they're called, into like a bit of slashy. There's like some slashy Demon Rider guys called, I forget what they're called now. Bliss Barb Riders, Seekers, yeah, that's the ones. So I used their ninja heads and then their cool Grecian helmet heads on these Cypher Lords. And it took me like an hour to do 3 of one type, an hour to do another 3, and then an hour to do the 2 characters. And I'm the most proud because I just use lots of contrast and washes and really thin them down. And I've done like warbands that have taken a couple of days to do, and then these, I'm just like, why do I like these more? I was like, hardly any effort, and it's the paint that's done all the work. Have you ever had a project where you've like put less effort in, but the reward has been greater?
Sometimes they just photograph really well.
I've had that. Yeah, in life they look like.
Yeah, I like that. So I've done all this scribbly stuff. Like, that'll do. Oh, that's good.
That is fascinating. Yeah,
and it is an issue, especially with things like non-metallics and stuff like that, because you can get really effective looking, because you can get that sort of scratchy, battered look very quickly, and it photographs because of the way the camera works. And so, like the shine is like an energy, like when you look at it through the screen. So if it's white, it glows. Obviously, it doesn't do that when you look at the model, but it blends it together in the photo because of that. So you get this very quick, scratchy effect that looks amazing in the photograph.
That's mad. Yeah.
But that part of my problem is that I spend a long time painting the models because I'm trying to make them look good in the photos and
in reality.
And it kind of it's a bit weird because so you can do models that look bad in reality, good on photos. You can do them the opposite. They look great in reality and bad in photos. And this is also why people complain about what wins, because everyone's judging it based on the photos.
They photograph terribly, don't they? They really do.
So it's a very tricky thing, and it's why I don't listen to many people when they complain about what wins and what doesn't.
Yeah, we had an army I put on Twitch years ago. We did like a battle report, and I'd done a steam tank, and I sprayed it gold, and I washed it, and that was it. And I probably dry brushed it a bit silver. But the light they must have used when they had it on the 360 made it look like I'd spent ages layering all these like really pearlescent golds onto it. And, like, it made the light just glitter off, and everyone's like, "What gold did you use? How did you make that?" In reality, it's a bit dull.
Yeah.
But on that 360 as it was going round, it looked amazing. Even I was like, "Can I get that footage?" 'Cause that's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Sometimes it is like a really not bad paint job, but not your best work. But the photography.
There's just a specific something that's just caught the camera nicely.
Yeah, crazy.
How much? No, I'll rephrase. How do you choose like the backgrounds that you have for the images and the photos that you take? And
well, if it's for a Warhammer community article, it's got to be white.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is always a pain because none of the pro painters like to use white backgrounds.
No.
But it is kind of interesting as well because depending on the background makes a massive effect on the look of the model. And so it just changes like exposures, and anytime I see someone that's got a black background, I'm like, you're cheating there.
yeah.
Because it really makes a difference to how the model looks when you see it in reality. My preference is like a grey or like a darker grey thing because that will allow you to see the highlights against it and the shadows.
Yes. Yeah.
But like just a little bit darker so it makes the highlights pop a bit more. But yeah. As long as you can try and make it work against any background, you're doing all right.
Yeah, I've seen like people like do little tutorials on how to like do photography on black backgrounds. We're working in workshop in the photography studio. It was always shots on white, but yeah, grey. It seems to be quite suits you down to a T, doesn't it? Really, it's great. It's great
because I get a few questions about photographing miniatures, and to be perfectly honest, it's not something that I've done like very much of because it's like as long as I get videos, not photos, in here, and I'm like, well, I want blurry stuff in the background because that looks cool, and just make sure that it's brighter and this and the other.
I found something really weird recently when I've been posting stuff on Instagram that my shots on white do all right, but they're not like high-end paint jobs. They're unit paint jobs, army paint jobs. But when I do them in a setting with a bit of a backdrop, like the woods and the trees or like the ruins and stuff like that, because it's got a setting and they're in it, and I usually have like some adversaries around it. It seems to make all the difference with like engagement and stuff.
Yeah,
no, it's kind of weird because there's a really good painter called Garfi.
Oh yes, yeah.
And he does very Games Workshop style settings, but they're amazing.
Yeah,
so
his
well
photography is
photographed.
really good.
But he doesn't get that much traction for the photos because people think he's just posting Games
Yeah,
Workshop stuff.
It's mad. Like all his painting is so good, and like his photography is like it should be in the books.
Yeah,
but it's not the.
Yeah, it's not official.
Yeah. It's mad. I think it was, I want to say HMV, it's not, it's HVM Workshop it's called, and they do lots of Lord of the Rings. And their painting looks very much like Citadel standard, but they make all these really cool photography backdrops and stuff, and they look like the movie settings as well. And I love seeing their stuff. So Garfi, those guys, they're like my...
I haven't looked at that. Let's check it out. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, very nice. But yeah, I've just found because I'm an army painter, having a setting like on a board so it looks like it's a publication photo, it fits better. So, and
also it was that kind of stuff that got me into it for a start. The photos, like the big armies facing each other, always on the back of the magazines. Where I was like, oh, that's amazing. Like my first one, it was like it was an epic battle, and I think it was like Chaos versus Eldar or something else. That's amazing.
Takes me back. Yeah. Love that stuff. Have you got a top sort of pick of miniatures that you've done over the years that you like? Well, not even a pinnacle, just like I'm super proud of that one, or like top. No, not every single one.
Once it's done, next one.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
But also because you spend so long looking at them, and you kind of get sick of looking at it. So mostly, I'm not interested in them anymore once they're done. Maybe like a year later or whatever, I'll come up and look at it and go, oh, actually, that's pretty cool. But afterwards. Yeah, not interested.
Yeah, it's fair.
I feel like that with some of my edits. I'll rush, like if I'm under a lot of stress, I might be like, oh, I just need to get it done. It's out there, and I'll put it out, and I won't watch it because I know I'll hate it because I've spent loads of time looking at it, and then I'll come back to it 6 months later and go, actually, that was all right.
Yeah. I suppose once you craft like videos when I've made them, I watch them just to be critical for the first time. After that, I don't watch them again.
Yeah,
because I'm like, cringy. And the wife's watching him in the background like, turn that off.
I have that completely the opposite way around being a barber, is that someone has a haircut, they leave, I have to start worrying about the next one. And then when I'm sitting in a quiet moment and someone walks past my shop and I'm thinking, why haven't you styled it the way I showed you? Why isn't that worn the way I was meant to be worn? So I am quite good at forgetting about it and then see it and see people being slowly destroyed. So my understanding of things comes from a completely flip side of that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Bonkers.
I have gone up before saying complimented people and gone, that's how it's meant to be worn. Well done.
So you predominantly do workshop stuff?
Yeah.
Do you do anything else? I don't think I've seen anything that's not workshop stuff.
I've done a bit of Kingdom Death stuff. It's the main thing is I get the models. So also because like I grew up with it. That's the thing. I love the Lord and the background and the models and things. So I'm being sent them. I love the stuff. So that's what I do.
What does the thing you need? Favorite faction or force or?
I like Nurgle a lot.
Oh no.
I like Imperial Fists too. Wow, I was painting because of the Heresy. I was painting a lot of Imperial Fists. I did actually paint a whole Imperial Fist army before, like I got well known. So I really like the Imperial Fist, but I'm always like, oh, Angels of Death. I love the Blood Angels, and I did some Dark Angels, and but I just like the lore of everyone.
Yeah.
So
I think I became more aware of your videos because of like the Heresy stuff, and it was really interesting. I guess because you'd painted some Imperial Fists with an airbrush and oils, and must have had a plethora of comments saying, "Could you do it without an airbrush and oils?"
Yeah,
it was a Dreadnought, wasn't it?
And you did Dreadnoughts and some of like the Marines and stuff, and it was really, really interesting. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter what way I do it. People will be like, can you do it this way instead?
Yeah. Can you do it the way I want?
I don't know if you get this, but sometimes we'll be like putting videos out there or do a poll of like random like Imperial Guard regiments to be painted, and there's always going to be someone that picks some really obscure thing that's been mentioned once in a book. He's like, who other than you, who else is going to get a value out of that?
So am I going to spend a whole week painting this and then do a couple of hours of voiceover work just so that you could watch this?
Well, the one that made me laugh was when you did that really cool two-parter of Imperial Guard regiments that had either had models and didn't have models anymore, or ones that were named and had a little bit of art, and you turned them into a living thing. And they were really good. And the idea was there were things that had fell off the radar or had never, ever quite got on the radar in the first place. And then there was people responding going, why haven't you done Steel Legion? Because they've got models.
Well, it's not just that. But, I mean, there was the Death Corps Krieg, wasn't there? And it's like, well, I've done videos on those and Warhammer TV. And
there's a lot out there already.
The whole thing was, it was about you converting things up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was people asking for things that you could just go and still lay your hands on. It was like, it is difficult to please.
But you've been told you're not very good at glazing, I've heard.
Yeah.
That was around that sort of time. Yeah, I love that. Love it.
Oh, you don't know what glazing is. You don't know how to glaze. And it's really weird because I talk to a lot of Golden Demon painters and things, and we all do it the same way. You just add water to your paint, thin it right down, load up your brush, rub off the excess, layer on the model. It'll dry really quickly because there's hardly anything on the brush. There you go. That's all it is. You just do that over and over.
That's how I understand glazing.
Thank Christ for that. I thought I was doing it wrong. I thought I was going to go through a method I didn't understand.
There are things like glaze mediums and things, so you can have things like to slow down the drying time, or just to add so it's more like a thicker medium, so the paint is just thinned out, and so you could do you're doing the same thing, but you're putting more on the model or whatever. And I think because there are glaze mediums, people think that's what a glaze is, and if you don't do that, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
No.
I recently bought some glazed medium.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with using glazed medium, but
just I was interested to see what the difference was.
I mean, I'm trying to add as little to the model as possible because I want the very smooth finish on the surface.
Yeah.
So you're adding extra on top of that by adding glazed medium to
interesting. Yeah.
Glazing for me was not something I'd ever considered. I remember there was an old White Dwarf. No, it wasn't a white. Probably even like an army book. We're talking like 90s. And it showed glazing. It was like a boar that had been dry brushed, and then they did like a chestnut glaze over it, and it just changed the tone of the fur. That was my first instance of glazing. Never touched it because I just didn't know how to do that, and I didn't have the inks and the washers at the time, or inks because they weren't washers. Then I started working and Daz was there, and I was doing some orc skin. I was just struggling because it was like dark, like really dark green, and then really light green. He was like, "Oh, you need a glaze." I was like, "What the hell's a glaze?" And he sat there and showed me. I was like, they always use the term like consistency of milk, and in my head, I'm just imagining a white liquid. But I've got green here. I'm like, how? So it took me ages, but once I got my head around it, it was like, yeah. And I don't use it that much. I'm not like Suggs or yourself, where, and I need to, I suppose, like for faces to get better, sort of like, well, smoothness to it. But
yeah, I mean, so part of the problem with painting faces like the heavy metal way is that you're picking out all the raised surfaces and then leaving the recesses, and you get very high contrast details that go on there. So particularly for painting female faces or women's faces. I watched the last one. It's back. I think you're safe with female faces, but because there's different types. But they generally need to be softer, so you don't want a really harsh like creased lines and things all over it, and so it tends to not work as well. And that's where the glazing really helps, because like you're just doing softer layers and you're kind of like ignoring the details, just glazing over the top, and you get like a very smooth look to it, still being highlighted.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, because certainly like, you get like really defined cheekbones on the dudes, and Eldar tend to be quite tricky because they are all quite pointy on the cheeks and quite defined. But yeah, that's an interesting observation I'll make.
Do you find that when you're like painting with light volumes that you're not edge highlighting quite as much, or
I mean you do need some edge highlights, because otherwise you can have things that look kind of like drift off into nothing. Because also remember you're painting at a small scale still, and on larger scale things you can do more subtleties and you can paint it more like realistic, but when it's a small scale you still need to be able to pick out some of those details just so you can see them. So you kind of like compromise a little bit on what you want to do, but don't go too heavy on the edge highlights because they'll overpower the light volumes that you paint.
So because I was watching I've been watching quite a lot of Cult of Paint recently, and they do a lot of the volumes, and then one of the recent ones he was painting some Blood Angels, and he was like, yeah, just let the volumes do the work and I just edge highlight with chipping, and I'm like, sounds awesome.
I mean, another thing about weathering is that, so people say I can't freehand or whatever, but you can use weathering like freehand. You're still painting on the model, and you use the weathering in an artistic way. It's not just a case of smashing on a load of chipping or whatever. If you are specific in where you place it, you can fill in areas, like you can have like a big empty space. I need to make that look good. A little bit of weathering on like an asymmetrical part, and it just fills the area nicely. A bit of empty space, detail, things like that. So
I always love seeing like textured cloth when like people do like either like velvet or they do like the ratty tatty sort of leather coats and stuff, and I try and do a little bit of that. It's never accomplished to the same levels, but I do find it adds, could usually get quite a large flat area with robes.
The cross hatching just makes it look
whether you're doing
doesn't
burlap or you're doing like any kind of like nice silk, I don't know where I'd start to do that, but it's just nice because it fills those voids, especially if you're struggling to like get your blends as like someone at my level, you can just use that to add a bit of interest to it.
I get really excited actually by different textures on different surface types on the models.
Well, your Deathwing Terminator is a great example of that, because you look at the cream and it's got like all those subtle mottling, but then you've got all the chips on the edges and stuff, and that nice bullet shot crack on is it a shoulder pad you've done?
I really like that. Because I'm getting to a stage where you might be able to just see in the corner, like I've got some Custodes on the go, and I'm getting to a stage where I like have to paint a lot of red and loads of it's cloth, and I'm just like psyching myself out, and I'm like, should I just wash it? Or it's like, so how do you paint red cloth, Richard?
Well,
on the spot.
in fact, get the paints out quick. Show us firsthand.
It depends. It would just depend entirely on the model and the look I'm going to go for, because the other thing is that there are very few set ways of painting, because you have to look at the whole model as one piece. So if you have like an atmosphere that you want to achieve, or a lighting setup that you want to achieve on the model, you can't be like, oh, so I'm doing a red cloth, so I'm going to paint it red, because what if you've got a blue light hitting it? Well, you're going to be struggling then. So
I haven't thought that far ahead.
You want red, don't you?
Red. I think I should red.
And this is something that's taken very much from heavy metal. People are like, what's the recipe for how to paint red? Because that's how Games Workshop teach. They want the very like layered, straightforward, do this. But I don't paint like that. I'm going backwards and forwards, checking things all the time, tweaking it. Is it too bright? So I'm going to knock it back a bit, or and that's more the way that like competition painters work. It's not, and it's why I don't like doing PDFs so much. Everyone's asking for PDFs because I can follow that because I do that and that. It's like, nobody's painted like that. Even if you follow a PDF, they might have done it sort of roughly like that, but they've still gone, does that look right? Maybe just go back and tweak it. And
I do find that interesting from like certainly my point of view of like doing stuff for workshop and doing stuff here is I have to be very, because I write a script and we follow steps, but if I'm at home there's a lot of in between.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's instructional, it's getting things to a certain point, but like there'll be a highlight and I'm like, that's a bit too stark, I'll just mix a little bit of that in and knock it back a bit, or just glaze over the top of it and stuff. And I suppose that could just be one day a video that we just do where I just sat there painting the thing to completion and like the little things I do in between it. But you're right. I mean, we supply the script, which is our PDF, if people want to follow along, which kind of works. But then
I think the thing about the PDF is that they can very quickly just get the bullet points down quickly. There's just pure information. Whereas if you've got to watch a video, if it's like a complicated thing, it's a lot of information to go through. Yeah. But that information's all important.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I mean, we did that when doing the yellow. I just watched it a few times, and I mean, obviously, I didn't succeed.
I will say that the model that you picked wasn't ideal because the techniques I used were very suitable for the Space Marine armor because it was very open and clean. So you can get the big brush and the stippling, and it's sort of
this is more serrated sections, wasn't it? Yeah. No.
It ends up more like a dry brush.
I have used that more though because I was doing it on cloaks and stuff, and like random things where I just like do lots of thin layers and stipple it on it. It gives it a nice texture to the cloak and stuff, and I really like that. I would never have normally done that. Doing that whole video taught me loads more stuff from like using pink as an undercoat for yellow, all these other things. So I quite like doing those kind of videos where I have to go out and like see what other people are doing and steal your ideas.
Well, everyone steals ideas. No one comes along and paints a Space Marine as if they've never seen a Space Marine before. They've seen a lot of Space Marines, so
that's true. Yeah.
Do you watch anybody on YouTube? Do you have a go? Who's your?
Clearly, I watch you. But
obviously Peachy. Yeah, of course.
No, like usually when I look at a model, I can see how it's painted, so I'm not worried so much about learning things. Although, like I might watch a bit here and there if I think something looks really interesting. I want to see exactly how they've done it. But I don't watch anyone specifically for the painting because.
Do you watch anyone just for the sake of having somebody on, or do you feel like
mostly I have horror films on in the background when I'm painting.
Nice.
Favorite horror film?
Oh God. Sometimes I watch these films and I can't even tell you what's happened in them.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose if it's in the background, I mean, I've been watching like Brooklyn Nine-Nine a lot, and there's a whole load of episodes. I've been painting some stuff at the minute, doing like some stormtroopers and stuff. And I'm like, how the hell have Peralta and Rosa got put in prison? Hang on, what have I missed? Why are they in prison now?
Yeah.
Because it's happening, you're taking it in at the time, but then it just goes.
So it's like nothing gets me through painting a corn berserker like knowing 12 college kids have died in the background.
I pause every now and then when I hear the screams.
Does that really help you?
When the music goes up a few, you go, hang on a second, let's see what's going on.
Although I do get irritated with how dark everything is because I've got my painting light on, so I can't see the screen very well.
See, that is ballsy. Watching horror movies in the dark on your own in a room.
I think I've hardened myself to watching too many. They're just entertaining.
I'm trying to think of the horror film that scared me the most. It's probably going to be like, there's a computer game that did. I wouldn't play it again.
Go on, which was what?
Fear.
The
little girl.
Very jump scare.
Dead Space was mine.
But the thing, I think, Dead Space.
The first Dead Space freaked me out.
But the thing with Fear,
they've remade that recently.
I know.
It told you when you were coming to an area that was paranormal because your little thing went like into white noise.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you were like, oh, it's coming, and then you're constantly waiting for it, and then it just happens when you're not expecting it. It was so well written. But I never finished that game.
All rubbish.
Could you like slow down time in Fear? Yeah.
Like, my favourite thing is like one of the weapons was like a big nail gun.
Yes.
And just nailing the guards to like gantries and stuff like that. It was just like the ragdoll thing was amazing. But I remember charging that little girl with the long hair in a gantry. No, it was an air duct, and it was all on fire, and she was running like scuttling towards you. I was like, shoot the shotgun while I was running towards it. I don't remember if I died then and I had to reload, but I can't remember that. Yeah, that's how I dealt with my fear, was charge the thing and die.
The most scared I've ever been by a horror film would be Aliens when I was a little kid and I could hear my parents downstairs. I wasn't watching it, I could just hear the sounds.
Oh, no.
So I asked my mum, like, what was that? And she says, they're like giant spiders. And all I got in my head was like these giant spiders screaming.
My early horror, as in like stuck with me and scarred me, was my mum and dad had gone out. It must have been like some kind of do with my dad because he's ex-army, so they used to do like these reunion things. And my older brother Mark was looking after us, and he decided, I was 7, my sister was 6. He was like, I'm going to put Nightmare on Elm Street on.
Oh yeah, that was quite scary.
I never know what it was. It was like, because we watched all sorts of things like Cocoon at that time and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was watching it and I cried, and I was like hiding. Mum and dad came back and they could see like both me and Nuska were traumatized. My brother got told off.
Yeah.
We were upstairs and Mum was trying to like calm us down, and my brother comes along later on that night and goes, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, I've got a picture that'll make you feel better. And if you've ever read Dragonlance, there's a character called Lord Soth who looks like a knight, but he's all out in black and he's got like red glowing eyes. And he's got these skeleton riders. It's pretty much like the Nazgul. And he puts that picture right next to my bed. So there's a guy in like black with like glowing red eyes, and then another skeleton horse rider charging him. And he's just there like, I just cry myself to sleep.
With me with horror, the jump scare's never the thing. It's always more how much I prefer being freaked out more than
effect.
One of my favorites is it's an old 1970s haunted house horror with George C. Scott called The Changeling. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Sounds Games Workshop. We talk more.
I definitely have seen it, and I can't remember.
A guy's meant to move into this new house with he's a writer, he's meant to move in with his wife and his kid, and within the first 30 seconds of the film they pull over with a flat tire and a truck goes off the road, and the rest of his family other than himself are killed, and he still moves into this house anyway, and then you find out the house is haunted, and there's a whole bit where the house is haunted by a child, and there's this rubber ball which belongs to his daughter keeps ending up in places where he doesn't want to see it, because he finally has enough, and he drives out a good couple of miles and he throws it into the river. And he comes home and he slams the front door shut. It's like, that's the end of that. And it bounces down the stairs wet. And it's not a jump scare moment, but it's just one of those bits where everything on your body just stands up. That's just too weird,
I do like when it's your brain that has to do a lot of the work. Yeah. And I remember there was some...
The Changeling's worth a watch if you've not seen it.
It was, mid-2000s, like 2005, 2006, something like that. And it's called The Creep. And it's like London Subway.
Oh, it's a great film.
Great. Until you see the thing, it's like a really khaki-looking golem.
Yeah,
like, I'm not scared anymore.
No, that's right, yeah.
Up to that point when you didn't see it, you're like, this is terrifying. And then you see it like, oh.
Well, it's the Jaws effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always say to, anybody that's young who has never seen Jaws, and I'm talking to them about it, I go... I know, just ignore the rubber shark at the end, yes, but it's a great film. Just try not to think about the rubber shark.
I watched Jaws as a little
Jaws
kid.
is one of my favourite films.
I was scared to have a bath.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street did that to me as well. Yeah, terrifying.
It's the only that, I don't believe in messing around with classics, but I do sometimes think, I wouldn't mind if somebody who really could CGI stuff could go in and maybe just fix the end of Jaws. I think that would be quite good.
I don't know, some of the abominations to do with CGI.
Yeah, well, true, yeah.
Wow, has anybody seen The Meg with Jason Statham?
They've got a sequel coming out.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Do you know the only thing I loved in The Meg was the bit that always made me laugh the most is that he's been involved in this submarine rescue, hasn't he, that's gone terribly wrong, and he's wallowing and he's the guy asleep at the bar in Thailand or wherever it is, and the waitress will come over and then takes the empty bottle out of his sleeping hand and puts another one in it, and he's gone to rack and ruin, still with a six-pack and looking amazing, going, why can't I suffer grief like that when I look like that? I can't have a major amount of grief where I come out of it by being a massively terrible alcoholic with a six-pack and still looking amazing.
Yeah.
Because you're not Jason Statham.
I'm beside myself in my alcoholism, but I'm just going to go and give it a quick 3 hours in the gym.
Yeah. It's genetics.
So horror films to keep you company. Good choice. Yeah. I tend to be... I always have something that's like I can use look in my mind's eye. So like Lord of the Rings, I watched it 100 times, or Sharp, or whatever. So that's always there. So I don't have to look up. But yeah, battles for me, screaming for you.
Yeah.
Taskmaster for me.
Taskmaster for you.
Although I do
Complete
Taskmaster
silence.
ruins me because sometimes I'll be edge highlighting, and people say it about our show because a lot of people watch us to paint, and I will just be about to highlight something, and someone will say something, and I'll just go, I've put my brush down and give it 2 minutes till the laugh and passes on that. I shouldn't watch comedy when you're trying to paint.
Yeah. And I'm boring in painting complete silence.
You do, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I do
Yeah.
that sometimes. Sometimes you need it.
Yeah.
A bit of silence.
We have some Patreon questions.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. Ooh. I think they're generally all right this time.
What's your favourite mashed potato?
Yeah. What's your favourite cheat? We'll ask it because
I
someone's
don't even
forgot.
like mashed potato.
There we are. That is good. Favourite potato cooked.
It could be a roast potato with like lots of fat on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
someone
that's
forgot
really
to ask
good.
it, so I'll ask it. What's your favourite cheese?
Ooh, I do like cheese. Maybe camembert.
Camembert's good. Yeah.
Good strong answer because someone's forgot to put it. They know it's numbly always
Yeah,
ask.
Usually Micah, isn't
sort
it?
yourself out, patrons. Now they're all outside enjoying the sun.
Yeah, don't blame him.
Yeah, but no, it's generally okay. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday. Actually, we were like, sweet potato fries, like, are they worth the upgrade? And everyone said no.
Oh, do you like a sweet potato?
Yeah, I don't mind it.
In fact, I like mashed sweet potato.
Oh, there we are then. So you do like mash, just not normal mash.
Interesting.
Not Maris Piper. You're not a Maris Piper kind of guy.
So that Mr. Chai says,
All the hard hitting questions on this show, Richard.
yeah. He says that Richard is my painting hero. If him and Angel Giraldez did the fusion dance, you'd probably end up with the exact painter I aspire to be. My question, what drills can you suggest for developing the delicacy of touch needed for top-level painting? Also, smoothness. Any exercises for helping to develop smoothness in transitions?
Exercises, like just practice a lot, but you do need to brace your hands and arms. So what?
Yeah.
Like I've always got my wrists on the edge of the table when I do it, and also like you can rest on like your fingers. So I'm quite often like this. I got my little finger as a support while I'm holding it. Things like that are very handy.
Interesting.
Yeah, apart from that, practice.
Yeah.
Just do it. Do you ever sit down?
Can I just chuck in? Do you find breathing as well as part of that?
Yeah, like try not to hold your breath too much. Because
Yeah, it's shakes.
kind of like a sniper, but you do it automatically. when
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
focused,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, fantastic. You obviously love the hobby and you are a very talented painter, but
Oh.
God.
Not metallic metal? No.
the drama.
Fine,
No.
right.
Do you ever sit down and think, bloody hell, I wish I didn't have to be Richard Gray today? Do you have a secret slap chop obsession?
So who's asked that?
That was James.
It made me laugh when I read that. It was very good. I love the idea of you just going, I'm not being him today.
Peel off your own skin.
And this is where actually you're a better painter than me, because I really struggle to do army painting in general. Like and this is why when you look at the Imperial Fist stuff, each one's like painted differently. They get like a similar result at the end, but I just get bored doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I can't do it, but I just like I can't. I need to just paint things differently all the time. So yeah, what was the question?
Can I just say we found our clickbait title? Peachy's a better painter than Richard Gray. I strong disagree.
So it was, I guess, do
I have a secret slap chop obsession?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I appreciate that for what it is, but I have no interest in it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
yeah, I couldn't do anything like that.
No.
No.
I'm the same with airbrush and I struggle so much.
Interesting. I won't give the name away on this one just yet, but it says, "Yay, Rich! Give him my regards. Make sure you exclaim Richard Gray with Screechy Beetle's fangirl enthusiasm while he's calmly eating breakfast. He loves that." And that is from Darcy Bono.
Hey,
There was two people I was going, but yeah, she.
she's great.
No, she. When we're doing the Horus Heresy thing, because she was invited
Yes.
as well, and I was there. Like I tend to sit on my own, eat my breakfast, have my coffee, and then she was like,
She is full on, isn't she? But we love you, Darcy, for it. We love you.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is great. Like you said, you have it like when Golden Demon painters post stuff on Instagram, you said they have an army of people saying that their work's really good. Tyler says, you are absolutely incredible. The style on your miniatures reminds me of Baroque paintings. Do you have a background in art at all, or at least draw inspiration from it? So I guess we talked about your illustration background.
Yes.
Yeah. Done.
I love
There
the
we
word
go.
Baroque as well. Such a
Yeah.
good word.
Yeah. What demon did Richard sell his soul to for his amazing talent?
The
Can he
golden
share
one.
their phone?
Nice.
Can he share their phone number?
That's always. I'm just going to quite segue on that. It's always baffled me that we've never put that into law.
Yeah.
Because there's an image of it, there's art of it, but there's never been like mentioned as a named god.
Yeah.
And it feels like it should be like the great or the god of painting or
So
whatever.
your golden demon in 40k would just have like just the best looking chaos army as his minions would be.
Probably because no one in heavy metal would want to paint the golden
The
demon.
golden
Yeah.
The golden
Nice.
demon's own retinue. You'd be like, oh, don't give it to me.
Yeah.
He's just always there on the old art, and he's got like a little demon next to his brush.
Well,
and
maybe
stuff.
this could be, you could kit bash some turn chaos custodies, and those could be golden demons.
We'll get War Games Atlantic to make a range of them. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
They do plastics.
That would be
Just
fun.
making that up. Don't know if they
But
would,
then I guess, I don't know if custodies in the law can't turn chaos, I presume. But who knows? Someone will let me
Golden
know.
demon could be special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be extraordinarily persuasive.
Yeah. He's golden.
Yes. Yeah. And he's
And
like,
they like gold.
yeah.
That's what I reckon.
Any chapter that wears gold just gets turned.
Yeah, easy. Genius.
So I've got 2 questions, says Peter K. Not
Yeah,
that Peter
I was
K.
going to say, God, we're doing well, aren't we? Garlic bread. Is that what he wants to ask
Yes.
about?
And
know.
is his chapter called The Phoenix Knights? Please tell me. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say his first question is this ways to Amarillo? But no. What has been the biggest milestone of your career as a painter?
Other than coming on here.
This kills his career.
I don't know. It would be their first Slayer sword. I think that.
Yeah.
That's the big thing that changed everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you say you've got 2 Slayer swords, is that right?
Yeah. So the other one, after 2014, Games Workshop stopped doing like big golden demons, and they started doing these mini demons. So there was like, I can't remember how, like a couple of years or something, but some like one year they missed some. It was just all over the place, and we weren't particularly keen on them. But the first one of them was Golden Demon tanks, so I won that as well. So it was directly after my like proper Slayer sword.
Yeah.
And I won with a Death Guard Fellblade, and that was pretty cool. Although I can't remember, like, so me and Andy Wardle had turned up there, and it was like, this isn't like a golden demon at all, because it's just people entering tanks, and they had different categories for
I remember
tanks
that.
and things, and
Should be maybe you could have won a Slayer dagger, maybe for the little ones.
We got. I know it's again another complicated thing, because I know lots of people liked them because they were more accessible, but the more pro painters didn't like them because they thought it was diluting it a little bit, and you know, it depends. Like, does a trophy from one of those count the same as one of the other ones? But at the same time, like at each Golden Demon, even the really really good Golden Demon, you have different like qualities of category. So you know, I always think if someone turns up to a Golden Demon and gets a trophy, they've done the job. They deserve that trophy, regardless of this. No one else enters, they've done it, and you can't complain because you didn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. And their second question was, do you ever feel that you plateau when it comes to your skill / art?
No, there's always something else to practice, to learn. Because it's the standard is rising very quickly, and you're always looking, seeing what other people are doing. If you were just left on your own and you never looked at social media or anything like that, I could see people plateauing. I still do see that. I get annoyed when people ask me how long I've been painting to get as good as I am. I was like, it's nothing to do with how long I've been painting. It's because I push to get better all the time. Because people will come to me and say, I've been painting for 40 years. I can't paint very well at all. It's like, well, you haven't done it right.
Yeah.
You haven't tried. You've probably done the same thing. You've been, doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah. That's I could be better at doing single miniatures and characters and stuff like that, but I choose not to because I don't want to.
Well, you wouldn't have been an army painter.
Exactly.
Like, you tend to have to really specialize. Really focus on something to get very good at that. Thing.
That's really good. Perhaps a strange question. Have you ever spent countless hours on a miniature, then when taking a step back, figured you don't really like how it looks, and then just started again?
I never start again. I just leave it. I've got so many, and it's not necessarily that I don't like what I've done, but my taste changes, and because some of these things take a long time to do. And it'd be like Nagash. Had an idea for that. I was painting it. It was going quite well. Everyone's like, "Oh, I want to see Nagash at the Golden Demon," and he's like half done, and now I can't be bothered with it.
Yeah.
Just look at it. I think, oh,
is this the new plastic Nagash or the old classic?
it's the new. But I had converted him quite a bit. Like I'd left off all the bones and stuff, and like he was standing on a rock, and I was going to do it so he was like standing on a rock, like a cliff face, and there was water like waves on the bottom, and like undead all climbing up as he's summoning all. And
oh wow,
like, it was a very complicated thing, and I got halfway through and I thought I want to paint him different, and it's half done now.
If I just jump in on the Patreon, do you ever come up with like a concept like that, and then as you start to go through, oh Christ, why did I decide to make it this difficult for myself?
No, it's usually a case of I wish I'd had more time to make it more difficult.
All right.
My biggest weakness is not having the model finished before the Golden Demon, and then the last couple of weeks before it, you're just pouring hours into it. But it's, well, I find anyway, really important to have that time to pause, look at it, what needs improvement, just to relax while you're doing it as well, because painting generally for me is very relaxing. Like I enjoy it, that's why I do it. So, like I love my job. It's like the best job I could ever have. But those couple of weeks before Golden Demon, I hate it, and I feel like I'm ruining the model because I'm not getting the time that I want to do it. But part of that is purely because of the work. So you have to do another model or whatever, and keep churning out content.
I mean, I've always massively respected the painters, because some of these things, like as soon as the first that game day's finished or Golden Demon's finished, they're starting the next one the very next day, and it's like a year's worth of passion. But
that's kind of interesting as well. So after the Golden Demon, people sometimes get disappointed and they won't even look at it, touch it, just go straight off it. But I'm more like, if I haven't won, right, next one.
That's great.
Oh, that's really interesting. Someone asks, what is I think, well, they've asked, I can't imagine you would have counted that I'll change the question slightly. Is there a miniature that you've painted that's had like just the most phenomenal amount of glazes on there? They've asked you for a specific number, but
come on, Richard.
I don't know. Like, I glaze as standard when I'm painting. I have no idea.
Yeah,
they all have glazes on.
Do you use any magnification gear?
I did go through a phase of using a headset, but what I found was that it got really uncomfortable and it gave me headaches. Just rest, and also because I'm wearing glasses, so they sort of, you get the most popular one, like the white one with sort of little nose bridge.
Yeah, that's one I wear.
Yeah, and it just really got uncomfortable wearing it with my glasses as well, and I just hated it. So I went to the opticians. I said, "Okay, I want just some close-up normal glasses." I thought, I'll wear glasses all the time. I'll pay whatever it takes to get me just some glasses I can wear while I'm painting. And they don't work as well as like a big magnifier on your head, but they do give me a little bit of magnification. So it's like close reading glasses. And that's what I wear.
Interesting.
I had a lamp which had like a magnifying glass on it, and I thought I'll give that a go one day. This was years back, and I don't use the lamp anymore. But I found it was really distorting, because I'd pull the figure up and be like, whoa, that's big. And then I'd bring the brush up and
I'm trying to judge the brush.
So your whole method of like moving the brush now is completely changed, because every like micro movement you make is like huge.
I find I was more like that with a magnified lamp, and I'm less like that with the goggles.
I tried a lamp, and what I found with when I paint, I'm really on top of the model. So, and with the you've got to be back, because otherwise the brush gets in the way and you'll knock it otherwise. And so I'm like this, and I don't like that at all. And because when you're viewing through the magnifying lamp, everything around you is still in focus normally, and then you put it in, it's like a big change. But when you've got your glasses on, that's what you see.
Yeah.
So it's not quite as jarring.
I've tried to now be quite, because you know you're saying about having it on too long, headaches. I was like that at the beginning. I've sort of grown out of that now, but the trying to have more pieces on your nose when you've actually got glasses on. I'm the same. I've got quite good now of being regimented with myself. If I know I can paint it without them, I lift it away, and then if I need to, and then I'll draw. I spend my life putting it up and down my face for the bit that I need to do, and that's the only way I can get through it. Because if I wear it for prolonged periods, even though I have a substantial nose, it's still not enough space to get the two on.
Yeah.
Another thing I would say is that what I found anyway, wearing a headset too much is you're focusing on the details and you're not looking at the whole model enough. And you can end up just painting these amazing tiny details. You take the headset off. One, you can't even see what you painted, and it doesn't look the same as when you've had the headset on. And the judges aren't going to judge it with the headset on.
And it makes you hypercritical as well.
Yeah.
Because you go, oh God, the state of that face. That eye's not where the other one. And then you lift it away and you go, oh no, God, that looks all right.
I do find myself, there's a bit more straining nowadays when I'm not trying to do eyes and stuff. So maybe glasses might be the route.
Yeah.
Hobby goggles, as Pat calls them.
But you're right, you've got to be quite cautious because, like you say, they're not going to have that. But then their eyesight might be a little bit better close up than my aging eyes now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They definitely do like details. High quality details, but you've got to be able to see them.
Yeah. That's
amazing.
That's fair.
So I don't think I've seen this video of yours, so I'd like you to say which one it is. But Aaron asks, "Hi Richard, how much convincing did it take to get your wife to narrate your video when you were ill? She did a superb job, and I couldn't stop laughing at some of her comments."
So I wasn't really ill, but that was the joke because it was an April Fool's thing. And it was Snickrot, and no, she didn't. She was convincing me to do it. She was very keen, and I was like, "Oh, this is a lot of work." And everyone's complimenting her, saying, "Oh, you've got all these little ticks and things just perfectly." And I'm like, "Yeah, because I did the voiceover," and then she translated it to text and just said what I said.
That's smart.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
So it's less an impersonation and more verbatim.
I mean, she did add her own jokes in it as well.
Yeah.
She was things like, and I'd say, "And you don't want to make mistakes here." And she said, "And I never make mistakes because I'm Richard Gray."
Full respect.
Is your wife interested in your hobby and your hobby career, or does it the thing he does behind that door?
No, she is interested. She does the website for me, actually.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's really handy. She's very good at all that kind of thing. She built the website.
Wow.
And she is interested in it, but she doesn't want to learn from me to paint. And she's like, "I can't paint very well." It's like, "Oh, I'll show you." And she's like, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Go away. She doesn't want any help from me. I was like, "Well, people pay me to do that."
And you can have it for free.
Yeah.
And you still don't want it.
Is it that kind of like getting driving lessons from your dad or your partner?
Yeah. Don't get driving lessons from your dad.
No, not. Well, my dad's an ex-copper and he used to do advanced driving in the army. And I borrowed Liz's car because we were going for a meal once, and he was sat at the front next to me. And I was driving. I'd not long passed my test because I've been riding motorcycles for years, but it was only like the last 3 years I've been driving cars. And he sat next to me. I could just see him trying to put the brake on or trying to change gear, his knuckles are going. Well, I'm really sorry, Dad.
I remember me and my wife nearly got divorced over. I was in a petrol station and I wanted to put more water in the van, and I said, "Pull the lever to pop the bonnet for me." And I seen a move, and she went, "What lever?" And I went, "It's down there. Just lean down, grab the lever, pull it towards yourself. It'll pop the bonnet so I can put water in." And she's like, "No, I don't know where it is." And I came and I opened the door and I grabbed her hand and put it to her. We nearly got divorced. She, "Don't you grab my hand, don't you?" And I was like, I mentioned it 3 times, and that was only just popping a bonnet. The idea of teaching my wife to paint, well, someone teaching me first, but teaching my wife to paint, we'd be in separate houses by the end of the
Okay, next question from Zach Bailey. What do you foresee as the next big thing in competition painting? Like how non-metallic metal was a game changer, but was it a game changer? I think we kind of discussed.
It was. So what happens is that you'll get popular painters and they'll be like, "Oh, I'll try this," or they like this. So there's a lot of people that are like, high-end painters are like non-metallic metal. And then because we do competitions, we win competitions, people say that's what you've got to do to win a competition.
Yeah.
But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with that. You don't need to do that. So it's just whatever's in style. Things can come and go. I do think texture and lighting is probably something that we pushed more.
Yeah.
Because there is the opportunity for that to be done. And there's lots of interesting ideas, and someone will come along and do something amazing, and then that will just become the standard then. But yeah, I mean, everything's getting better. So
Yeah. Excellent. Paul says he has enormous respect for you and the black magic he works on his miniatures. What was your biggest epiphany when you started? What was? I'm gonna have to read this word for word. I was trying to change his because like you're right there and it feels weird to say it, but there we go. What was his biggest epiphany when he was starting out that made the most difference to his painting?
I don't know. I don't feel I've ever had epiphanies. It's just been progress, like a steady progress going along. A wet palette did help a lot. Like I started off making my own wet palettes with like ice cream tubs. Like I used I'm provided with one now, but I did actually quite like the ice cream tub one because it was so thick and I had like a massive bit of sponge in, so that would never dry out.
Oh, amazing! Yeah.
But they do go mouldy, so
Yeah.
2 pence pieces is meant to be the thing, isn't it? The mould, putting in your lifting your sponge up on your pallets, and you put a coin in there, a copper coin in there, and apparently it holds the mould back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Those coppers always hold the mold back.
Mine never go mouldy because I so frequently forget to put the lid back on.
What I actually find though is people always ask, "Oh, how long can I use the paint using the wet palette?" I change mine nearly every time. Because the properties of the paint change as you've left it. So they separate, you mix them up a bit, they evaporate a bit, you put a bit of water in. Like they're just not the same anymore. So fresh paint works differently to.
I found that with like wet palettes. It's like, you put a paint on, an hour or two later, it's so thin. It's like, that's great for doing a wash or like a glaze or something like that, but it's not base coat.
You have to be careful how much water you do put in a wet palette as well. I do notice that people put too much water in and then they just.
You've done it, don't you? You put that paint on it.
Quite often, I'm asked, how do you keep your wet palette so neat? What are you talking about? You just put the paint on it. That's what I do. It's put the paint on it, put a bit of water in, there you go, it stays wet.
Fascinating.
Common sense 101.
There we go. When comparing Golden Demon standards and winning entries over time, can you see the styles and palettes evolve? Do you have a preferred period of Golden Demon history? And do you have any thoughts or wishes for how the competition and styles may develop?
Oh, that's a lot of questions.
That was a lot of questions. There was lots of commas and only one question mark.
Well, that's cheating. I got told off for that in English, so. Fair. All right, my favourite time I think was when I was younger, when I was aiming for my first trophy. I loved the painters then. They just seemed so amazing, and I think at the time there was more conversion work. Like, now it's coming back in again, so people are doing scratch builds and everything, and obviously you've got 3D printed parts that people can put on models and things. Although it has to be sculpted.
Yes,
yourself. Don't go and buy any bits.
It's dangerous. Really.
But. Yeah, I really enjoyed that where people were like doing. I think they were very creative pieces.
Yeah,
like during the 90s and things.
I would say is this like they might move a Matt Parks
that kind of thing.
Because he sold his.
Oh, he's got his sword up.
Yeah, sword and one of the.
the Slayer sword winning. Was it?
The starting bid's like $5,000 or something.
Yeah, but those swords are expensive.
Yeah.
That took 6 months. It said, I think, to make the sword.
Yeah, it's one way of me to get a Slayer sword anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, well, because they changed the quality of the sword. So the ones that I've got.
Controversial.
It's not.
I'm such a YouTuber.
I think it was Raven Armory. They got to make these handmade swords, and Matt Parks is maybe the one just before they got those, but it was still like it's amazing, that sword. It's probably one of the best ones they did. But like the Raven Armory ones are all amazing, like proper, like handcrafted swords. And then after that, they're like, let's just give them a cheap sword. It's just a cheap bit of sheet metal with a. And they kept doing, and people were kept saying, we don't like these swords. Can we please have a decent one? I think they've recently they've bumped it up a little bit. I haven't had a close look at it, but I know Neil for his, he was having a bit of trouble because he won it in America and he needed to get it back, and he left it for them to sort out, and he got sent back through customs, like sent back to America. They wouldn't put it through. So
weirdly, I'd ordered like a small, it was like a key ring, like katana that you could click and it will come out.
Oh yeah.
It's not like super sharp or anything like that, but it won't go
Still
through
a
customs.
concealed blade.
It's a concealed blade. Yeah, I was just like, it's like that big. Who am I going to kill with that? Maybe a borrower.
Someone.
They wouldn't let my wife and my kids went to visit my wife's friends in Canada, and they brought for my little boy, they brought a baseball bat, and the baseball bat was sponge in like a rubber coating, and
that's to stop the bruising, right?
That's right, and they wouldn't allow it on the plane.
Oh,
they wouldn't, in case my.
I was expecting barbed wire and nails in it.
Yeah, well, that's what that's. We got him another one, and it's what he's done with it now. But that, he, in case a 6-year-old ran amok on a plane with a rubber.
Yeah.
So he can take the ball. So he's got like this ball look that's done like the baseball stitch and the red stitch. He can have the ball, but the back can't go through. And I thought, honestly, really?
Yeah.
Common sense.
what was the thing? What would I like to see change in Golden Demons?
Yes, like what does the future hold?
I know I do. They have a problem at the moment. So it's a legacy system with the gold, silver, bronze, and there are so many high quality painted pieces.
Yeah.
That in a lot of the cases they're equally good.
Yeah.
And they just have to pick one, like I said earlier. For example, in the unit category where I got a commended entry, and there was me, there was Angelo DiCello, and I can't remember his name, but the guy that got gold previous year, we all got commended entry. So you've got 3 painters there that are gold standard or Slayer sword winner, and we didn't get a trophy. So that's how hard it is.
Yeah,
it's bonkers.
Yeah.
And so I was speaking to the judges, and they were like, that's why we're trying to do the thing where everyone goes on stage to try and show that, everyone with a commended entry, like that's the high standard. That,
yes.
If you had an open competition style system, like these would all be getting that colour trophy or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would like them maybe to see for the commended entries, because all you get is like a little certificate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite nice. It's like it's black with gold embossed stuff on it or whatever. But I'd like to have like that as a little medallion or a little trophy or something, just to show that that achievement is right up there, because you have your commended entry and you have a finalist pin as well.
Yeah.
Also, people get a bit confused by this because finalist sounds like you're right through to the
yes,
thing,
but commended
really,
entries higher.
Yeah, really, finalist is kind of like first cut, if you like.
Yeah.
Although that was another problem with Adepticon, because it wasn't first cut. They didn't have enough finalist pins or something, so people were getting first cut and not getting a finalist pin. So that's why there was the confusion, because normally
right,
you'd get a finalist pin.
Yeah.
So that's why.
So impromptu question from me: who judges Golden Demon?
Well, it changes. I mean,
because the stakes one wasn't heavy metal, was it? Was Aidan there? I think Aidan might.
No,
he was there a couple of years ago.
The previous one, Aidan was there as part of Warhammer TV to judge.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last one, no.
Oh.
That's all I can say on that. So, because I may have talked to people, but I can't confirm anything, and I might be wrong. So,
well, if you don't know, you don't know. Yeah, there's no. You'd expect someone that's a high-end painter from the business to be there.
You would expect that.
Yeah, but you didn't get that.
Very diplomatic.
The silence is deafening. No, I'm joking. So last question from our patrons. Hi, Richard. Peachy recently did a video about losing his mojo and sometimes needing to compromise on standards to get things done. Have you ever done this and turned your hand to batch army painting but lowered your standard? And I think that you got a few Nighthaunt and Death Guard done, but they still look pretty damn good. I'd love to see a massive army of your work.
Yeah, me too.
You've got an army of test models, I guess. But.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have armies of Titanicus. Because that's something that I enjoy as a gaming system as well. Like, and it's quite easy to paint an army of those. 'Cause you need a few models, and I can still paint like the different legios because you need a few, and then I can do another one. And they're all got like they're all like knights or whatever with their own heraldry. So they're very individual pieces.
Yeah.
So that's not so much of a problem for me. The only issue is then fitting them in among all the work. Do I lose my mojo? It's a little bit of a controversial answer, but I feel like I don't have the luxury to do that.
Yeah.
People go to work and they do their job, and it's my job.
Yeah.
And some days I might not be quite on it as much as other days, but I still have to get it done. So
Yes.
I do it.
Yeah.
I suppose, you could lose a mojo on a particular project.
Yeah, I can move on, or I get bored of a piece or whatever, but I still have to paint something. Or make a video.
Yeah. I interestingly, we had a. It will have come out at this point, like when this gets released next week. We had a sponsor for Skillshare, and they say like, watch a video that you think, like, watch a course and. Tell us what you think about it, and one of them was about like how to motivation and time management and all that sort of stuff, and they were like, successful creative people schedule their motivation. Like you're like, right, well I just have to be motivated consistently to do the job, because otherwise if I wait for motivation to strike, then we might not have a video out for another 3 weeks and stuff like that. You just get it done.
Yeah. But imagine that with Barbara. I know you've got a 9 o'clock appointment, but I'm hoping my mojo might kick. My mojo might kick in round about 11:30. Do you fancy coming back?
I'm just going to cut half of your hair and then just come back next week when I'm feeling it.
But I really feel like I'll have the rest of it in me to finish that off for you.
Yeah.
It might not be quite as maybe creative as you want it to be, but you have the skills to do it, so you can brute force it.
Yeah, absolutely right. There's many a day I've gone to work, Rich, and it's been brute forced for the whole 8 hours.
My son's hair was brute force yesterday because I did a full Chris Peach on him.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Even to the bit that the middle bit's missing.
Yeah, I've got the same patterning going on, and we wear the same clothes, so it just looks like mini me. It's great.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Before we close to an end, I've got a question. What is your next golden demon? I know most of them don't like trivia, but have you got like plans afoot already?
I can tell you some of them. For the last couple of golden demons, I have been very poor with my time management for getting golden demons done. So I've only ended up with like.
You have to watch your video. Skillshare can sort that out for him.
Yeah.
One entry for each of the last 2 competitions. But for the next one, I'm focusing more on just doing golden demon stuff. So my plans are at the minute, I'm doing the Croxagore that people should have seen started on my social media. I'm doing Dante.
Oh, I was going to ask about Dante. Yeah.
Very sexy.
I've got to do a fancy base for him. That was the other issue when you're running out of time for a golden demon. Base is secondary, but you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You've got to. The base has got to be like a high standard. It doesn't necessarily have to be complicated, but it has to be a very high standard, so you can't knock it out quick. But yeah, so Dante, and then I've got the Ogroid that I started before, but I'm going to do that as a unit again. But there's 2 golden demons next year. There's Adepticon and there's UK, and I want to do both.
Ooh. With the same miniatures.
No, not I don't really ever re-enter anything.
Yeah.
If it doesn't do anything, it doesn't do anything. I don't care.
Yes.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But again, I have a luxury of having quite a few trophies, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yes.
Quite as much.
Yeah.
It's not like you're chasing your first, is it?
So I have those things, and I have another one that I can't say.
That's fine.
We'll turn the cameras off in a minute.
But I've also had a plan that I was supposed to be doing for the last 2 golden demons, where I want to do an Adeptus Titanicus, Warlord Titan, a Nurgle one, really heavily converted and sculpted, like super corrupted with like freehand stuff all over it, and that
sounds cool.
Yeah, I'll probably do that for the UK one.
Yeah.
Oh,
that sounds awesome.
Keep me out.
It started with the sculpting thing.
So Adepticon is that March.
April.
Yeah.
it's
They're
like
quite close
early.
together.
Yeah.
I think they did it on purpose to try and stop us going over and taking all the trophies.
Fair. But if you plan ahead, then you just reserve some for that. That's good.
That's
Clever.
amazing. The Brits invading the US again.
Well, no, it is. We have like a team that goes over.
Because the
A bit of rivalry.
the cult of paint boys show heavy at them, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Fantastic.
Cool. Well, thank
There we
you for
go.
coming on the show. If people want to find you, they can look on YouTube, can't they?
Yeah.
And your social medias.
Should be anywhere.
We'll
It's
stick.
Demon Rich, isn't it? It's your,
Daemon.
yes.
Yeah.
The game.
I didn't put that.
Daemon.
It's not linked to Golden Demon or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I did that when I was a teenager, and I needed to get a Steam account for playing.
Oh, smart.
What was it? The Half-Life.
Yeah.
You needed the Steam account to play Half-Life, so I just came up with a name. Then I just kept it.
Another self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Then I would
I
say.
got a weird
Yeah.
one. I was at uni and we did a lot of LAN gaming for Counter-Strike, but at the same time I was working in a workshop, and it was when Terror came out and I had a character with a little goatee, because I had a goatee called Colonel Peach. And then I used to call myself Colonel Peach in the games. I've never been a colonel, but it's stuck, and I've still got that as like my name for Steam and like my email and stuff. And then whenever you're like ringing up for like insurance and stuff like that, Colonel Peach, they're sort of like, oh yes, we'll get this put through you straight away for you, sir.
Oh, amazing.
I'm like, no, I'm not actually a colonel.
It doesn't matter.
I don't want to lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can, people do.
You're
that.
not lying. You're
Stolen
letting
valor and all that.
believe you. Yeah.
But thank you very much. So do check out Rich's stuff. It is insanely good. It's mad and non-metallic metal. I mean, I hate it. He loves it.
Should probably explain what non-metallic metal is right at the end of the show, in case anyone was wondering.
Rich, what is non-metallic metal?
Metallic metal. It's the superior way of painting metal.
Yeah, done. That's done.
Okay, and there we go.